Hey, what's up, buttheads? Welcome back to No Ifs Andor Buts, our after show for Star Wars Andor. You don't remember that, Molly? Last week, someone said
I
that we should call this.
remember.
Yeah,
I
anyone
didn't
who
think you were.
watches this show is called a butthead. that's that's the group fandom name that we have agreed on, and by we I mean me.
Needs some work, but sure. For now, I'll let it slide.
I like buttheads. Well, today we are here to talk about episode 6 of Andor the Eye. It is the end of the second arc of this season. And to discuss this awesome episode with us, we have Corey and Eric from Youtini joining us. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was thinking when we started talking about this, we picked a day and we're like, yeah, we'll come. I wonder what episode it'll be. I'm sure it'll be fine. And then this morning I was like, oh my god, we got this episode. So stoked to be on here.
Yeah, it's a great episode. I've been up thinking about it for about 12 hours now. We got up right at 6 and made some coffee and watched it, and so we're still going strong. But if I start to sound delirious, that's why.
Excellent. That no other reason. That's it.
Yeah. And we Sion, we are currently enjoying a beverage at the resting house. This is finally the end of the day. We're getting to rest. And Johnny C, thank you for agreeing that you are a butthead. Everyone here's a butthead today.
Proudly.
Let's get into just the series itself real quick. Eric, how are you just liking Andor as a whole?
Oh, yes, Eric. How are you? Just liking Andor?
I mean, easy answer. It's my favorite Star Wars television series of all time, and it's not particularly close. I think that the craft in every episode has just been sublime. Those first 3 episodes are one of my favorite Star Wars movies now, I think, and I'm just constantly blown away by the way the writing and the acting and the story all come together in a way that I didn't know I needed as specifically until I watched this show. And in a week where we get Rings of Power, House of the Dragon, and Andor, I don't know which is my favorite, and I think that says as much about Andor as anything else. I'm in heaven every week.
It's so much, yeah. But fortunately, we're almost to the point where it's like we just have to worry about Andor, because I'm the same way. Yeah. We've been trying to keep up with all these shows at the same time.
The next are being fed well right now.
I know. You have to check your calendar. Like, what day of the week is it? Like, what shows are there to watch? It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
It almost feels like we're being gluttons. We're just having stuff shoved in our faces.
Oh yeah. I mean, between this and the fact that now, like, for me, NFL football is back. Like, my week is done. Like, I feel very bad. I'm like, I can't hang out with anybody. Sorry, I'm busy every day, just enjoying my life. But yeah, also in a series where I have been so like enthusiastic and euphoric about it all, today might have been my peak emotion of all of it. So, like, what a time to be a nerd, guys. Star Wars is canceled, but other than that, it's pretty good, you know.
Star Wars is dead, but we're
dead.
trying.
No one likes
we're
it.
Trying. Yeah,
that's right.
Corey, how are you feeling? Do you agree with Eric? Do you disagree? How do you like the series?
I usually disagree with Eric on pretty much everything.
That's true.
But this, I mean, I can't argue with him here. I am loving Andor. Rogue One has been my favorite film, honestly, since it came out. So I was already knew that I was going into this experience with like just kind of that era and that the lighting and everything is just like absolutely my favorite. And I am just totally spoiled. I just cannot believe the show is as good as it is. Like, the dialogue, I've said this 1,000 times, like the dialogue and the writing is like maybe the best Star Wars writing, like, period. Like, not even TV. Like, the dialogue doesn't have any cringe in it, which kind of makes it like not Star Wars a little bit, which is like kind of shocking. But like, it's just so good. I mean, everything is so good. The VFX are phenomenal. The cast is phenomenal. Like, I'm having such a blast. I mean, I walked out of today's episode feeling empty inside in a way that live action TV has not ever made me feel. My wife had a full breakdown. Like, we were like, no, why? Like, afterwards, we just couldn't. It took us like 2 hours to like recover, like, frankly. Like, so, I mean, the show is phenomenal. I cannot believe we're only halfway through the season already. Like, it's just so good.
I agree. I like the point you made about Star Wars cringe, and Chase does too. But I agree that like it does in some ways feel like it's missing. And
Mhm.
I was thinking about this earlier today. I think it was Kevin Scott wrote like a recipe for Star Wars, kind of joking of like it's 20% camp and it's 10% this and blah blah. And
Yes.
I was just thinking about how the Andor recipe for Star Wars, it uses all the same ingredients, but it definitely has like less camp, less of the overt goofiness, which I agree, like that there is definitely a place for the cringy lines in Star
Yeah.
Wars, but
But this show is just it's so serious. It's like totally absent. There's no you're training to be a Jedi and I'm a senator. That is not in the show like at all. Like it's just serious and it's scary. I was so sweaty today. So sweaty. Like my hands were like shiny, like in the middle of the show. I was like, I don't know how like I'm gonna do this. Like this is so stressful.
Yeah, and it seems like it's more cinematic than anything we've gotten in so long. Like I for the first time really thought today as I was watching the episode, like, God, I wish I was seeing the eye on a movie screen. Like if this episode was in IMAX, I'd probably be crying. Like straight up. I mean, just from the beauty of it all, and that mixed with, as you said, Corey, like the dialogue that the Gilroys put in. Like, can you imagine if Tony Gilroy is like, "Sorry, can you say criffing here?" He's like, no, absolutely not.
I think we made the same joke in episode 3 when Mosk says shit, and someone probably was like, "Hey, Tony, we use these other words," and he's like, "No,
Don't tell me what to do."
So we're gonna eat crunch berries. We're gonna say shit. We're gonna have a good time. That's Andor.
Well, yeah, let's start diving into episode 6 specifically. Molly, we really haven't had a whole lot of time to just sit and talk about it. We walked Hilo and we discussed it a little bit, but how did you feel about the eye?
I liked it a lot. Like so many of these episodes so far have just been so tense. And yeah, the writing is so good that it just like pulls my focus in right off the start and like does not let go until the very end. Like I find myself like my mind isn't wandering anywhere. Like I'm super just dialed into the show every single episode. But this was such a good peek to this little story arc, I feel like. And I loved we've talked about the editing before in this show and how good it is and how like smooth everything is, editing one thing into the next. It feels very like connected. But the visuals in this episode were phenomenal. Like the second time I watched it, I actually did tear up a little bit watching all of the Aldani people, watching the eye and everything, and I was like, this looks stunning.
Stunning. This was my Negroni Spagliato with Prosecco in it. Absolutely.
Yes.
Why does everyone know what that is except for me?
I told Alex about that, and he was like, "What are you talking about?"
Do you want to learn a lot about yourself? All you got to do is watch one TikTok. I love that you said that that scene specifically, Molly. I love that so much because that's the kind of scene we wouldn't get in a lot of things. Like they take the time to watch the villagers. They get to think about it. See, like that's in the middle of a heist. I love that.
Yeah. That was brilliant. And all the build up too, right? Like it's not like they waited to the very end to show the whole event. Like we're gradually getting more and more of these things flying over the top of this in the sky and like the sound effects when they fly over. Like that was really stunning. Like as soon as they brought that in and like I kind of figured out like this is what this is going to be. I was just like, oh my, this is some very fun VFX. I love that so much. So
yeah. I love that the villagers are actually the only people in this episode that kind of get what they want. Like everyone's
see the eye.
Everyone's losing people left and right, and they're just like, this is what we
They're
came
just
for.
out partying.
Yeah. They're like, how was it? Normal year of the eye, you know. They're not going to really remember.
Although I will say the villagers, it really felt like they were building up something to happen. Now, I guess that was I guess that was on purpose. I guess like you're supposed to feel a little tense. Like there was that little language exchange where he looked like, well, you didn't translate what I just said correctly, and then he threw the pelt onto the fire really aggressively. Like I don't know, I was really expecting like somebody to start pulling out blasters like Saw Gerrera's troops and Rogue One at one point.
For a second, I was like, did that guy just curse him? Because like he has a heart attack and dies. Spoilers, but like watching it the second time through, I was like, did that guy curse him? Oh my god!
I had the same thought that I kind of thought they might be the ones to accidentally mess up the heist.
Oh
Like they
yeah,
just
yeah.
would
Yep.
storm the castle or whatever.
Mhm.
But you make a good point because I felt something similar in episode 3. And I think we're just kind of seeing the sound of a reckoning again.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
I do keep waiting for the people of Ferrix or the Donnie to do something. And I wonder if we're going
Yeah.
to keep kind of building up to that until the final arc, because I assume we're going to
maybe
go back
so.
to Ferrix. And like in the first arc, I kind of envisioned the time grappler coming out and just starting to wail on his Beskar brick as like a signal of, all right, everyone,
man.
let's go mess some stuff up.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to get to that point.
I mean,
Mhm.
gosh, now that I'm just thinking about the time grappler doing that and then jumping down and wailing with the hammers, and he's
Uh-huh.
like, I love how he has become such an icon of rebellion for that. And I think that's one of the cool things that they're doing in this show is like really organically showing how the different rebellions are starting. Like obviously the Vel Cell, as I like to call it, like are pretty far ahead in their heist. But like the Eldani are just starting, and they're okay. Maybe they're thinking about it, and the Phyrexians or whatever are like maybe in between them, and it's like I think that by the end of it, obviously in Rogue One and Episode 4, the galaxy is kind of risen, but it's so cool to see these different levels. It's so good. Kilo agrees.
I also want to, I know, right? I also want to comment really fast, like just how big of a fan I am of how developed the villagers kind of are, because that would have been very easy, just kind of like blow off and, oh, it's a bunch of people in fur coats and stuff, but like they're super diverse people. The cast of that is super diverse. Like there was a lot of, like there was language that the subtitles didn't have translated. That was interesting. Like, I don't know what they were speaking, if it was a real, Earth language, right? Like, and then they had the whole like song chant thing. Like they really went way out of their way to develop that group pretty well. It felt like they have a culture. It didn't just feel like these are extras on the set, which I think that is why this show kind of stands out. It's one of those ways that stands out more than any other shows we've seen so far, is that they just it seemed like that shrimp village a little bit from the first season of The Mandalorian, except super developed. Like it's been a while,
Well, it was like the planet that Cassian is from, right? Like we got to hear their language, but it wasn't subtitled for us. And same with the Eldani villagers. Like you get everything with like body language and
context. Yeah,
the context of the scenes, which I really like.
I loved the Gorn's line when the engineer was there and he was like setting up his little camera or whatever, and he's like, "Has it started?" I loved him saying, "Well, the Aldani believed that it never ends."
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Oh, because that is cool." The planet is just passing through all of that, all of the rocks or whatever Nimic described it as in episode 4. So like the stuff of the eye is always in space. You only get to see it once every 3 years.
Yeah.
And like, to me, I was like, that's the Aldani are always pissed off. They just get to like show up to the Empire and tell them how pissed they are once every 3 years. But they are always annoyed by the Empire, to put it lightly.
Yeah. And it's also like such an Earth
kind of stuff.
It's like such an Earth-centric point of view too, to get like all big picture on it, right? Is like the sun sets and rises. It's like, no, it doesn't. We move. Like the moon, like all these planetary things happen around us. And I think what I love that this show is doing, it's like it's showing the different cultures of like the Empire assumes everyone is moving around them. Or they can't care about us. They don't matter to us, right? Cassian is very much like they don't think about other people. And if you took a second maybe and thought about that, maybe you could avoid some of the giant rebellions that are going to try to burn you down.
Yeah.
You idiots. And it's just so cool.
I also love that Lieutenant Gorn is like such the intermediary between these two contrasting ideologies too, right? Like a lot of his lines are like kind of correcting the Imperials, or like you feel like he's more of one of the villagers than he is an Imperial. And like I love that the contrast where the two of these fat bureaucrats are drinking and he's like tucked back in the back, kind of in the shadows. Like, I love that. I love his character so much. I hate we are done with him now.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up Chase's super chat real quick. Not Star Wars related, don't kill me. But just wanted to say happy 10 years. Love you both. And Eric and Corey. Cheers, everyone. Thank you, Chase.
Yes.
Hey.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Chase.
Cheers to you
Yeah.
guys. 10
10
years. We were
years
talking
to you
about that
guys.
earlier. That's a huge accomplishment.
Beautiful.
Congratulations, both of you.
And we're celebrating by talking about Andor. That's
Doing
as
your
we
job.
should.
we're going out
Our
for
job.
dinner on Friday. We're saving our celebration for after Andor.
After
Yes,
all
nice.
They
the
did
work.
this for you. Yeah.
Let's talk about, since you mentioned Gorn, and I do love Gorn, but we had a lot of loss this episode. So who hit you the hardest, Corey? I'll start with you.
Oh man, Nimic. That's not even a question.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
hard, so instantly. That's what brought Caitlin to tears after we finished up the show. It was just like, why did he have to go? And I'm like, well, I mean, his death is really, he was the martyr that looks like he's probably going to be sort of the last missing piece that really pulls in Cassian into the ideology of the rebellion. I love that he passed off the manifesto to Andor. That is just, we're going to get to see that and how that affects him. And I'm so stoked for that. His death was utterly heartbreaking. Although, interestingly, it actually wasn't the thing that rolled back and crushed him that killed him. It actually wasn't that. What actually killed him was the fact that they took him to a doctor with 4 hands who performed a spinal surgery with him laying on his side without any anesthetic and in a non-sterile field. That's actually what killed him, just for the record.
Look, Dr. Quadpaw knows what he's doing. I have to believe. You don't besmirch the name of Quadpaw.
Dr.
in this
Quadpaw
household.
did not even wear Dr. Quad gloves, so I mean, it's kind of a problem, all right?
His
No,
species
doctor.
hands are naturally sterile. You don't understand.
Alex, that doctor reminded me of the veterinarian from Better Call Saul that was like
Yeah.
the go-to doctor to fix everybody's like gunshot wounds. And he's like, I'm just a veterinarian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Quadpaw, who knows what he usually does? Probably not a lot of his usual thing, right? Yeah.
I was going to share this. This was our reaction to Nimic
Oh,
being
Oh my
crushed.
God.
Oh,
Yes.
so
The
sad.
Like-
sound. It even made like a crunching noise. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, it hurt, dude.
We all knew, like
Yeah,
you
we
said,
knew
the
immediately.
second he showed up and he was this adorable space nerd that builds models, I was like, "You're dead." Like, and I
Yep.
know,
Absolutely.
and
yeah.
it didn't.
Oh.
It still hurt.
I want to bring up this because it's relevant for a super chat from Emma. Thank you. Hey, y'all. Thanks for having Youtini on the show. In my opinion, from last week, Nimic was doomed, but the way he died shocked me. Did it feel anticlimactic?
A little bit, and that's
Hmm.
right after making that face. I yelled, "That's how! That's how he
Mhm.
dies!" Like, it's so upsetting that he was
Yeah.
so close,
Yeah.
I think
and
that's
then he's like crushed by the very thing he was trying to
Yeah,
steal.
right.
It's so metaphoric. I'm like, he right? Because he believed in it so much, and his great success was funding this thing he loved, and then it destroys him. And it really hit me because you remember, gosh, this was quite a few years now, when Anton Yelchin died, the actor, the Star Trek actor who played Chekov. That's how he died, when a car just fell back, and I immediately like went back to that moment of like, it's
Oh,
kind of a tangible death. And in Star Wars, a lot of time, blaster bolts, like things like you can't really identify this, but I felt it was so visceral the way he went, and he was like slowly going. They tried to get him to a surgeon, and in Star Wars, if you get to the doctor, usually you're fine. You get like a character reset, and you get them back to all right.
They can apparently replace all your organs with just like
Yeah,
pipes
right.
and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, you know,
And they're like, no, the doctor, like the fact that they tried and couldn't do it, that's what surprised me the most.
Yeah, Nimic
that I
couldn't
thought
feel
we
his
could-
legs. Darth Maul didn't
Yeah.
have legs.
I know
he was
exactly.
fine.
It's the difference. I know. Yeah. I do appreciate like weirdly how medical it was. Like they did kind of make it it wasn't just like, oh, he's hurt, he's dead. It was like you can't feel his leg. You heard the sound, then you can't feel his legs, and they get him to the doctor, and then he dies on the table, right? So like
Yeah.
They
it
gave
was
him that like adrenaline puncture thing.
yeah. Oh
that
yeah.
I guess,
And he
Yeah.
was having trouble I assume it was like an anesthetic, like a big dose of morphine or something. 'Cause
Yeah,
he was
like
like really having
morphine
trouble
and adrenaline.
focusing and
It's the stims from Fallen Order, right? That's what Cal gets. He just goes,
Yeah.
"Ah!" And
yeah,
that's it.
exactly.
The way that I
Man.
thought about how he died, my first thought was like, oh man, frickin' Skeen and his greed for more money.
Mhm.
That's the reason why that
Mm,
pack was still there and not like up with the other ones. Like it was just
Yeah.
sitting there. That was like the last thing that they put in. And I was
Yeah, it
like,
was
he
still
was
on
killed
the
by
cart.
greed.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
maybe.
It could have, and then he kept doing his job though. Like that's why Nem's the best.
He dragged him to the bridge, and he like read that stuff. I was like, "Good God, man!"
And
like
not only that, but he's using that old device that he was talking about, and he was like, "This device is how you do it. Like this device will let us get through the eye." And you see the TIE fighters. The pilots, their instruments are not working because they're just standard issue TIE fighters, not developed for whatever the eye is.
Yeah.
And like, I love that Nimic and all of his philosophies. And he was like, this device is freedom. And then he's right.
I know.
He's right.
When he's giving Cassian all the orders and Cassian's like, I have nowhere to go. Like, we can't go up now. And he's like, no, seriously, go. Yeah. Like that was so emotional.
And we saw there's this tweet our buddy Jacob put in our Slack. I got to share that was like when he's telling him to climb. It's also K2's last directive to Cassian. And I'm just like, I was a goner. I was like, you just got to climb, dude. That's your whole life. It's just climbing and climbing and climbing. And
I love that throwback line. That was
that's a good. I just remembered Skeen's line of talking about how like we were born in the pit and the only way out is to climb on top of others.
And the Imperials talk about climbing the ladder too quickly.
Yeah.
All about climbing.
Interesting. There's a lot of climbing in this episode.
Guys, just, you know what? If you just stay where you are and you're happy with your life, you won't get crushed and you won't get shot. That's what we learned. Just stay where you are. Be content with not advancing anywhere. Star Wars.
A very closely related point. Can we talk about Skeen for a second? Like, because I feel like that was utterly shocking to me. Like, like when he like quick draw shot him, I was like, oh my God. I had to pause and it shocked me so bad. I was just like, holy smokes, Andor has morality and ethics. It's amazing. Like, yeah, that was, man, did that shock you guys as much as it did me? Did you see it coming?
I did not see that coming.
I figured he was the way he was talking. I was like, no, Cassian's going to shoot him. I think when he did it, I was like, like you deserve that. I don't know that he really did. He could have like kneecapped him or something, so he couldn't have stolen the ship. But
after I was surprised. Told him, and like after Nimic finally getting through to Cassian, him like doing a switch like that and being like, it's all about the money, man. You and me are the same. And he's like, no, we're not.
I was more shocked by that. Yeah, the revelation that he was just lying.
Yeah,
was that do you believe him? Do you think that that's true? Like the whole my brother story is not real. Why is he there then? What's his motive? What is his motivation for being there? Was he always planning to steal the load? I guess. Well, I mean,
I can't decide if the brother story was a lie outright or not, or if he really did have a brother that died. But he said the line like, I don't have a brother. But to me, I just thought it could be, I don't have a brother anymore. He doesn't matter to me.
I
don't know. It could go either way.
I thought that for that's why I love this show. Because like everyone's lying all the time. I know. And I got that that the story was false. And I think he used it just to get on the squad, to do a job. He's like he said, I'm just crawling over the next person in the pit. And these people needed a sob story, and I gave it to him. And I also might be projecting his character from The Bear a little bit. But another great show. But that is what really shocked me when he lied and turned. When Cassian pulled the trigger, I was like, that did make sense by that point. Like you asked, I was like, okay, through the conversation, I kind of guessed that's where it was going because we all know the classic story. Oh, I'll split it with you. I'm betraying them, but I won't betray you. Right. And I think Cassian's like, oh no, you got to die now. Like I know that you're going to shoot me, so I'll shoot. It's the Cassian shot first, if you will. But I was also surprised when he came in to find that it's only him and Vel left. I think if it like that kind of double death within 10 seconds there was like, oh my God, now everyone is gone but Vel and Cinta. I was like,
I wonder if Skeen made that decision when he found the Kyber crystal on Andor. He's like, oh, this guy's just in it for the money. I know what to do now.
Maybe.
No one kind of thing. I like that
in a way.
It's tough because like I want to believe that Skeen actually I think he was manipulating things a little bit to get to that planet, get Vel off the ship so that he can then steal the ship. But I also do think he cared about Nimic. I want to believe he.
I agree.
How could you not? How could you not care about Nimic?
Yeah.
Like maybe that's what did it for him. Is like Nimic's dead. I have nothing to do anymore. I have nothing to live for anymore with this. I don't have to be invested in this anymore. Like,
yeah. Also, everyone's got a price. You know what I mean? I think that's
Yeah.
like also the cruel thing is that, you know, Cassian's getting $200,000 for this job, and that we're meant to believe that is a lot. That is a life-changing amount. And then he's like, "Cool. What about 40 mil?" Like that. Like,
I mean, maybe
at a certain point-
Luthen also recruited Skeen the way that he recruited Andor, right? Like maybe he is also just a mercenary for hire that has a specific skill. I don't really know what his skill is. I mean, he had a couple cowardly moments, I feel like, in the firefight. You know what I mean? He seemed like he didn't want to.
He was asked to cover that guy, and I feel like he wasn't doing a good job on purpose.
Yeah,
like,
he shot one dude. He shot one dude, and then he kind of like went back in.
He was freaked. He was a little too freaked to be like this hard, you know, rough and tumble muscle guy, which he definitely projected for the first couple episodes. And then you guys are absolutely right. I think that when push came to shove, he realized, you know what? If I'm in the rebellion, I'll probably have to do this many times, and I'm not surviving all of those. There's no way I'm going to make it out of 4 missions in a row, so I'm just going to cut my losses and skedaddle.
Yeah.
I love it.
Interesting character.
There's a lot I think is intentionally ambiguous. Like, I don't think we're ever going to know when Skeen decided to try to take all the money. I also wanted to bring up, because you brought up Cinta, I can't decide if she shot all the hostages or not. Like, she walked out of the base and she
didn't get it all clear, did we?
It looked like she was crying. I just got the sense that maybe I hope we find out something next episode, but
we found out that stormtroopers killed her whole family, so she might be looking for revenge too.
Right.
The kid, though, you think she shot that kid? Dude, that's dark. Oh my god.
He was sick all the time. That's fine.
That's true. Yeah, that's right.
He's not sick anymore. Look at that. We fixed it.
The whole heist was like, so Molly said, I thought this was going to be a little more sneaky, but like the second those doors closed, they were just like, nope, blasters out. Tie that kid up. I was like, what is going on? Like, it was
almost.
It's also nice. I also like to. I would like to say that it's nice to see a heist go to plan, like in a show or a movie for once, right? Because every time there's always a heist, it always goes to shit immediately, right? And like they have to rebuild the whole plan, nothing works, and it all falls apart. And we're meant to look at how stupid all the characters are for making all these mistakes, but this worked like kind of flawlessly, other than the fact that they kind of got caught with the communications, right?
Yeah,
so like
whatever happened with that device.
Yeah, exactly. And that weirdly made it, I don't know, intense or like scary, I guess, that like it seemed like it was working, because you're led to believe longer and longer and longer that it's all going to work out. And like, I don't know. It was really the fact that they got to continue the plan, like as they kind of wanted to, sort of made it a little more intense for me. So
yeah, I do want to say also at this point, like we're just getting into all the deaths and stuff. I thought it was all handled super well. I love the characters that are going on. It was unfortunate that the first 2 people to die in the team happened to be the black dudes. I think that Star Wars doesn't have that great reputation for that. And like, I think they handled it well. A lot of folks died, but like, just to be aware of it as a fandom, like it was handled well.
It made it better that everybody died, I guess.
Yes,
but still,
like,
I definitely hear the point.
A waste, but just like, that was one of the things that like only slightly brought me out, where I was like, I think we could have handled that better, just because the history. Like, I'm glad the 2 queer women survived. That was great. They usually don't get to do that.
I don't know how Cinta's gonna meet back up with Veldo.
Yeah, they're making it more and more overt.
Yes, yeah, I think so.
Real quick, I'm gonna bring up this super chat from Johnny C. Books and Comics. While the guys are still here, just want to say that the Youtini reading orders, ratings, and reviews are such a great and appreciated resource. Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
So
appreciate
glad.
that.
Yeah, but gosh, it's weird. I've only still watched the episode once, and everything we're talking about now, I'm just kind of amazed that I'm not also watching it. Like, I'm gonna watch it immediately after this one. I'm talking about, but like, I think this is one of those episodes that I'm gonna rewatch over and over and over and over again, because it just is kind of unlike anything we've gotten so far, and it's just gonna get me completely pumped.
What you're talking about is like watching the whole team get picked off. I was someone who last week was like, I kind of am itching for some action, and I knew we would get it all this week, but now I'm so glad that they spent all that time letting us get to know
Yes.
Lieutenant
Yeah.
Thorne and
Yes.
and Skeen and Nimic, and like because it just hurts all the more.
Yeah.
I do feel like they gave us the information about Terramin, the fact that he used to be a stormtrooper. I wonder
Yep.
if they put that in to make his death like a little more bearable for people. Like,
Yeah. I mean, and the fact that he's the guy that should know all the battle stuff, and then he just gets picked off, like,
yeah.
which also might be the most stormtrooper thing ever. Though,
Yeah.
like, that's kind of how
True.
it works, right?
Well, yeah, Skeen was supposed to be covering him, and he was doing a shit job. So
He trusted him.
That very well might have been like the first little Skeen clue that
Yeah.
something wasn't right.
We got to watch
That-
it again.
that-
That's what it is.
I know we got to watch the whole arc again and like
I
try
know.
to pinpoint.
Yeah, I
I
think
went
that-
back through and I watched stuff for Nimic specifically because tomorrow's video is all about Nimic because I love him and I miss him already. So
I mean,
just wanted to
he-
go back
his-
through his scenes.
He's not a character we've seen really. Like we don't get because he's not just the bookworm. He also does action, but he also just is so dedicated to the cause. But he's not an extremist. Like he's just such. I mean, he's really just like a Marxist. Really, like he just believes so much in this philosophy, and he will fight, but he will do the calculations. And I'm blown away by the actor. I think the actor just did such
Yeah,
a
me
beautiful
too.
job with that role. And obviously, we now know his arc, but I mean,
He
what a
he
gift.
also freaking sniper pinpointed that guy that
Yeah.
had Cassian. Can we,
Yeah,
that
that
was
was a great shot.
That was
We-
super
like-
badass.
We made some guesses on what maybe everyone's downfall could be. I was wrong about all of them. And Molly suggested like maybe Nimic is not the best soldier. He was asleep on the job when we first met him, and so maybe he won't be able to pull the
right.
trigger. And I remember when he shot that dude and saved Cassian, I was like, oh my god, like go
Yeah.
Nimic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it took
for
a
sure.
shot too. I mean, the guts to believe that you're not going to hit him. I'm like, how many shots have you taken, Nimic? Like, what is
Yeah,
you've
Yeah.
trained, buddy? Like, it was really really excellent.
he will live on in his writings, though. I'm excited to
Oh.
see like where that goes because like Cassian has
Mhm.
his book now, and like
Mhm.
he might, we might see it pop up from time to time in the show, and
Mm.
who knows where it goes
Yep.
after
I
that.
mean,
Yeah.
You have to imagine that Nimic saved the galaxy, that he
Yeah.
gave Cassian the tools to like philosophically change his mind, become the
Yep.
person that's willing to go to Scarif and sacrifice his life so that someone eventually can blow up the Death Star. I'm just gonna Nimic is the savior of the galaxy.
Can
It is.
That's how
That's
And I love that. I love that too, because like right now, I mean, the show could end like technically. Like it's kind of like Cassian has an out right now. Like we're leaving him as he's leaving. Like he's on his way out the door now. He's like, my job's done. I'm done here. But he has the book. So like we can assume, I guess, that the book is part of what turns him back. But I'm very interested to see how he's going to be looped back into this, because like we've had this huge story arc of him being recruited. And now I always assumed that this was it. Like that was the recruitment. Now he's in the
Mhm.
rebellion, but apparently he's leaving again. So I'm very interested to see how that influences him to come back, I guess.
He could
Yeah.
take some of those ideas back to Ferrix and like
That's
help
true.
lead them in their revolt.
Yeah, I like that.
'Cause I'm
That
excited
we
was
to
still
go
have,
back
we
to
still have all
Ferrix.
those original characters still, I guess, to
Yep.
swing back around on. So
And B2 Emo.
Where's
he?
B2
Oh my
Emo?
gosh, where
I
is he?
know.
His Funko is arriving
he
at my
safe?
apartment on
Is
Saturday.
he all right?
I need him.
I'm gonna guess that he has the manifesto.
Mhm.
So the next 3 episodes, it might be just Cassian on his own. He was
Reading.
kind of he was
Just
kind
reading
yeah,
in
he's
silence
just
for 3
reading
episodes.
for 3 episodes. He was kind of forced into this job with Vel and her crew, and I think it would be nice if he were the one to approach Luthen next, to be like, hey,
Oh,
I want
sure.
to go back to Ferrix. I want to help them, and I need your help. Like to see
Huh.
him actually make the choice to do a little
Yeah.
rebelling.
That'd
that
be good.
feels like the next step for him.
Yeah, because as far as Luthen's concerned, as we see at the end of the episode, this is a win, right?
Yeah.
He's like, he
Yeah,
knew
yeah.
people would die, but he's like, I consider this an absolute win, right? He's like laughing. He's like, that was crazy, but whew,
Pulled it off.
he was all about
contrasted a little bit with Mon Mothma in the Senate, interestingly.
Mhm.
Like,
those final like 3 little scenes where like let's real quick catch up with the Empire and the Senate
yeah.
and Luthen.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice, like it was chaos, and Mon Mothma was like giving a speech, and she's like, "Everyone's ignoring me. What the hell? Let me check Twitter. Oh my god!" Like,
I thought the same thing. I was like, she's checking what's trending on Twitter
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
she's like, "Okay, I get it. Never mind. Never mind. We'll
Why
talk
are
about
the
the Thorn
only
massacre."
5 people in this room not paying attention to me?
Yeah.
I really hope
yeah.
that's not the only Senate scene we see, because that went by real quick.
Yeah, it did.
It was so nice to see it. Like, I got that jolt of like, "Oh god, it's the Senate."
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild to see it
Senate.
again, frankly. Like, I thought that was just very strange to me. Like, I mean, it looks really, really good. Don't get me wrong. It looked really, really good. But like, I was like, holy smokes, we're in the prequel suddenly. Like, it was just kind of jolting coming from the contrast of everything else that happened. So,
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to see that at the very end of this.
yeah. Mhm.
No.
But I like how it is going to lead us into the next arc for her and for Luthen.
Yeah. And then I love the reality of Luthen having the moment of like, "Oh, do you have anything from Eldani?" My first thought was, "Oh my god, he's getting arrested." But
Uh-huh.
no,
He's like, he
like
panicked big time. Like,
he's like, "Oh my
he's
god,
like,
but it's also
why
surreal."
do you ask?
Like super elite rich people that are out of touch always just want tragic stuff. Like, "Oh my god, do you have anything from this? Oh, it's so cool. It's so hot right now. Eldani was tons of people died. Ooh, it's like a souvenir." Like that's how influencers treat tragedy. And I'm like,
It's true.
dang, Andor, go off.
Well, even what that little exchange with the woman who was like buying a pendant or whatever, and he was like, "It's a language everyone forgot. You get to make it up yourself now."
Yeah.
And we're like, "What?"
It's like people in the 90s who would get like Chinese script tattoos, and they're like,
Oh
I
my
don't know what
God.
this says. It looks
It says
cool.
soup.
It says peace. It does not.
Sure doesn't.
Yeah.
I love his whole shop still. Just that
Me too.
it's all of these artifacts from various cultures that have been dominated by the Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I want to go to there.
We got a slightly new angle, I feel like, too, in this particular episode. I need to go back and look to see if there's stuff that we haven't seen before. Like, I guess they could have, I don't know, inventory could have changed too, I guess. But like, I don't know if it was all the same or if it's different.
I like that the guy was like, "Oh, I was just kidding." Like he just brought that up.
Yeah.
And
Casually.
Dude, it's been an hour. Maybe.
I know.
Like, you gotta be chill. And of course, we'll find out, I'm sure, who he is and what all they have in the Abrams Art of Andor season 1 or the visual guide to Andor. Like, I am sure there's going to be a lot of really amazing reference books that we eventually get to find out all these guys.
Yeah. And I want to bring up, while Alex is fixing his AirPods,
You got this, man.
The super chat. Panda One, thank you so much for the very generous super chat. Episode 6 of Andor was the perfect balance between great writing and action. I agree.
Agreed.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like your point you made earlier, Alex, about the pacing. Like it's been super slow up to this point, and suddenly we're getting all this action and stuff. I feel like it made it worthwhile. I think in a lot of ways, it's very different than Mandalorian in that like Mando is just kind of boom, boom, boom. Like this has been a lot of build up and stuff, which a lot of people complained about actually, right? But I honestly appreciated how slow the pace was, and it made this episode in particular like the payoff much greater. So big fan of the pacing, honestly.
I like how like in Obi-Wan, it felt like the ups and downs of that series as it went on. It was like it felt really forced, but this having him kind of broken up in between multiple episode arcs, the flow feels a lot better, even though there are very abrupt endings to the episodes. Overall, it feels like it connects a lot better.
Yeah,
I missed the initial question because my headphones died. What are we talking about?
I just said that the point that you made earlier, that the pacing, like it felt like a big payoff now. Like that was just I'm such a big fan of like how the super chat said that this has been a lot of action in this particular episode. So big fan. Oh yeah, this one.
Yeah. Like,
Good
I mean,
writing
can you
and good
imagine
action.
if Empire Strikes Back had been a series and the middle episode is just Luke on Dagobah just meditating, and people would have been like, "Where's Han and Leia? Why don't we care about what's going on in Cloud City? Where's Darth Vader?" And
it's
like,
the nature of weekly release television, but I appreciate it. I appreciate that they are telling the story they want to tell, and like it does make the payoff much greater for me personally. So
it does feel very similar to the Clone Wars some of those arcs where it'll be like build up, and then the last episode is usually just all of the action and fighting.
Yeah.
When we still are covering it in our chronological rewatch, but there are some episodes where it's like, well, it's the end of the arc and it's just a lot of fighting and there's not a ton to talk about. This, even though it was a very action heavy episode, I still saw so much going on
developments and
that like thematically that's really fun to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
It's incredible.
You know, one other tiny little detail that nobody's talked about yet was the depiction of the money in the vault. It was very interesting to me. How many different ways are we going to see money in Star Wars? Like, this has got to be its
so
own
fun.
giant Wikipedia article at this point. And I also love the fact, like, the big cylinders were weird and interesting. Like, who would stack money like that? It looks like a giant, like, you know, like when you put the your change in like the Coinstar or whatever at the bank, and it gives you the rolls. Like, that's what this is. Right?
Oh yeah, that's kind of cool.
Right.
It's rolls of coins, and I love that they couldn't get even like a third of it. Like you would expect them to clean the vaults out, right?
Yeah,
but
that's what I was thinking.
All of it.
I think they were
Didn't get it all.
stunned when they first opened the vault and like they saw all of it and they were like, "Oh shit! Like, how are we gonna get all of this in here?
Yeah,
Just go!"
Yeah,
and
like
no
Steve's
droids.
face.
It was all manpower. What would they have done if all those guards hadn't been down there? Like,
Yeah.
would have been for nothing. They clearly missed that part of the plan, I guess. So
Yeah,
I'm
it
surprised
was
not.
so heavy it killed the dude. So like clearly it was very hard to load it all.
it was
that man had to do 15 minutes of manual labor and it killed him. Like that, I have no sympathy for Commandant Butthead.
And I skipped the gym this morning to watch Andor. I think there's poetry in that.
It was also carrying the big cylinder tube thing was also very reminiscent of Solo and loading up the the fuel, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
This episode was very Solo. I got like again, heist to heist. Obviously it's not completely 1-to-1, but the excitement and the tension and like things going wrong and the moving and then the flying and the TIE fighters on your tail, like if you liked Andor season 6 or episode 6, have you watched Solo in a hot minute? Because it's very, very
I feel like this has been the best heist we've gotten in Star Wars. Like I feel like when Rogue One was getting ready to come out, they kind of said it's a heist movie, and it's like, well, the last bit is kind of a heist movie, and then they were like, Solo is a heist movie, and it's like, yeah, they try to steal a train car, and then they steal but like what I've always wanted is someone to sit down with a model and a plan, and here's what we're gonna do, and here's how it all goes wrong, and I'm like, they did it. That's what I want to see.
Just take
We needed an Ocean's 11 in Star Wars.
Scoundrels by Timothy Zahn is the book that needs to be made into a movie. There you go.
It's very, very good heist story.
I see Nemec becoming your next Biggs here, Alex, if things don't go wrong. Like there's some about this character and his model making, and I think any figure that a Nemec that gets made is going to have room on your shrine.
Do you have a manifesto somewhere, Alex, that we've never showed us?
It's all about Biggs.
Yeah, mustaches for all.
Real quick, I want to bring this very, very generous super chat from Patrick Dubé. Happy anniversary, Alex and Molly. Thank you. Buy yourself some pumpkin beer. Enjoy, guys. I got some right now. I'll buy more.
Patrick.
You're already on it.
I think B2 Emo is my ride or die for this series.
That's fair.
He is the one that I've committed myself to. But we'll see if they put out a black series of Nemec. I might grab it.
Our sweet boxy boy.
He's gonna be so sad. Cassie's been gone for so long. Like, I missed you.
He'll be like, "Where have you been?"
You need a Band-Aid.
What do we think is next for the characters that we haven't seen as much? Like, I'm honestly curious what Luthen is going to do now that he has 80 million credits, because it seems like he needed Mon Mothma for the money, and maybe he doesn't need her as much anymore. So I'm wondering if that's going to start causing some tension.
I feel like the heat is gonna come down on everybody is kind of what I'm feeling. The fact we ended with that at ISB headquarters or whatever, and like everybody coming in, we're all gonna be here till midnight, like nobody's going home, call your families. Like it feels like it's about to get really hot, and
he literally said like, look up the planetary retaliation emergency response, whatever. Like we're going to retaliate.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're ordering Chinese, Everyone, like, what's that? We've seen cereal. What's the takeout boxes in the ISB? It's like we've been here till 2 a.m.
We're ordering those blue noodles.
Oh yes,
Everybody like hunker down.
That's it.
Take your stim pills.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Wash them down with your calf.
I want to see Vel meet back up with Luthen. And like I assume Vel's going to continue in this show in some way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I want to see where her journey goes, and like hopefully Cinta makes it off that planet and meets back up with them.
Yeah, I'm hoping that obviously we get those two together. I think we're gonna take some. I think we're getting for a mini time jump. I'm not sure how long, but I feel like there will be something between the time we see Cassian next, where he is reading the manifesto, where he's kind of, what's that? The line in Rogue One of not everyone has the luxury of deciding when to believe in something, right? I think this manifesto. He's gonna take the time to now become that man. I think going back to Ferrex is not a bad idea, because he said he'd be back eventually, and now he has money to kind of fix Marva's house, maybe get her some heat, please.
What's up there, Chaco?
Hey, Chaco.
Chaco,
huge fan.
Nice,
awesome.
First pitch on Full of Sith. That was a long time ago, man. That is funny.
Many moons.
Yeah.
ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Alex, if you remember, a very long time ago, when I was much of a shrewd businessman, I pitched you on Youtini at one point. I don't remember what we ended up doing. We ended up doing something. You give us a shout out.
That was a long time
6 years ago or something crazy.
Children.
Like that.
We were children.
I know. But we babies.
Yeah, there was not Star Wars live action television when
I know.
that happened.
It was not even a dream at that point. Yeah, I'm excited to see kind of how this comes around as well. Like, I hope we get to see a little bit more of the might of the Empire a little bit, because even Rogue One has this strong, like, the Rebels win type of feeling, right? And this is going on at the same time as the Rebels TV show, right? So the rebellion is barely a thought yet, right? So I think I would like to see, and also kind of expect like this retaliation thing to be sort of visualized on screen to some degree. It'll be interesting to see how far they take that. Obviously, you could, the VFX could be very expensive if there's like a true planetary retaliation type.
We're about to see a lot of mining accidents, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God. That's perfect. Yeah, totally.
Oh no. But yeah, I think we will. I think there's a reason that we are waiting to see, like, does Cyril get that job with his uncle? Is he now back? What's Deirdre doing?
Yeah.
Like, we've just seen her stewing. Like, some people are really, really mad. And I mean, we haven't seen Saw Gerrera yet. He's in the trailer. So
that's true.
That never goes well.
I think Alex, we were talking about the prison break from the trailers. Like, maybe that's going to come into play at some point soon.
Yeah, there's still so much that I was kind of wondering. I was trying not to publicly talk about it for fear of spoilers, but I was kind of wondering if everyone would get caught in this heist, because it looks like Cassian is in prison at some point. So yeah, we have so much other stuff in the trailers to still get through. And I'm wondering how Cassian winds up. It's either like a prison or it's a very THX 1138 style.
They're all in those like white jumpsuits and barefoot. Yeah.
I mean,
it looked like it was on Coruscant. So
if Cassian gets to Coruscant, I would freaking love it. It's also just so fun that, like, I gotta say, after two full arcs, I think that we can confirm this, like, actual intentional 3-episode arc structure with the same director doing these stories is wildly successful.
It's brilliant. Holy smokes, I love it too. Although I finish every episode with, like, I don't know what's going to happen next, and then you have a third episode that just knocks your socks off, and it's just like, it's a fantastic pacing for a show.
It's something like, even episode 3 and episode 6, they end, and I'm just like, more. I want more. I'm upset when they end, even though it like puts a little bookend on everything.
It makes you wonder, because, like, didn't they say originally they wanted to do like 5 seasons of this show, and then they did the first season and they were like, oh, this is too much work.
Yeah. But, like, okay, two with time jumps, yay.
Yeah. Like, okay. I can't imagine if we got 5 seasons of this.
I kind of wish we could, but I understand.
It's going to be interesting to see how this show affects the greater Star Wars live action TV sort of, storytelling, right? Because it does feel like it does feel like up to this point we've had like the Filoniverse a little bit, right? Like, and then now we have this, which is radically different than I feel like anything we've had. Like even Kenobi it still had, I don't know, tonally it felt very much Filoniverse-esque, you know what I mean? Like, but this is just totally different. Like, is this repeatable? Like, does it work because it's Andor and it's the rebellion versus Empire, which has always been the classic story, or does this work because of something else? Like, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen. Like,
I think it's repeatable. I mean, as you both know, the Star Wars books are wildly different, and they always have been. Like, the X-Wing books are just different from the Thrawn trilogy and anything, the Jedi Academy trilogy, whatever. So the books have always explored these different genres, these different age levels, and so I think Andor is a bit of an experiment. Like Kathleen Kennedy straight up said, "We wrote this for an older audience, and we'll see how it goes." And I think that
it works.
I hope that this just continues to lead to more diversity in the types of storytelling that we get, because I love The Mandalorian for different reasons than I love Andor. I'm probably going to really enjoy what is it, the Young Jedi Adventures, or the little animated show, like but I'm sure I'll like that just fine for completely different reasons. But I like the idea that TV, like the books, can now have a bunch of different options.
I mean, you let the creators do what they want, like what they want to do. Favreau and Filoni clearly wanted to do Mandalorian, and then Filoni wanted to make it to Ahsoka. Like, that was the plan. Great, we'll stay out of your way, you do that. Tony Gilroy is like, I want to write a Cassian show, and I'm going to make a Tony Gilroy show. I'm going to write it with my brother. We're going to show run it the way we want to. Great. Here's a check. Like, I think that seems to be the future of, like, and the Russian doll creator whose name I forget right now, that's doing The Acolyte. Like, same deal. Leslie Headland. Like, great. Who do you want to work with? What do you want to do? Here you go. Like, we're getting there, you know, and I think that's the future.
I like that all these Star Wars shows, like, we get stuff like Obi-Wan and Mando, that feels like the chocolate and vanilla, maybe the strawberry ice cream. And then a show like Andor is like the brown butter bourbon barrel, like top shelf, kind of like fancy ice cream.
Only a pint.
And eventually we'll get like pistachio ice cream, like all these different flavors that like different people are going to enjoy, but it's all ice cream. It's all delicious.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
And I think because we got so much of the Filoniverse live action back to back, it all started to kind of run together. I mean, we had multiple seasons of Mando and Book of Boba Fett. Like, I was ready for something kind of new and different. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love those shows. I mean, I had a blast with all of those shows, like you say, for different reasons. But like, it's wild how almost a palate cleanser is so refreshing. Like, it proves that like animation doesn't have to be a certain way. Live action also doesn't have to be a certain way. Like, everything can be a little bit different, and that's super fun and refreshing. And I hope we continue to see that, like, even on just shows that we don't know anything about yet, that are still, you know, not even an afterthought yet.
I mean, I think I would get bored if Star Wars became, like, I've seen people say, like, Andor is what Star Wars should be all the time. And like, no. Like,
you feel that way because it's new and different, right?
I miss the pulp. I do miss some of the cringe dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
I want a little bit of the prequel memes energy.
I mean, that's some of the best stuff from the original movies. Is like Han being really stupid on the Death Star and just like running in all these different directions. Yoda in Empire is like really silly but hilarious. Like we would miss that stuff, the campy stuff.
I like having the option of, hey, I want something serious in my Star Wars today. It's Andor. Hey, I want something that's just a little more fun. Let's put on Mando. Like,
the whole like give blank Star Wars. It's like, no. We don't have, the thing about IP is that there are just hundreds of people working on these things. And the fact that there are different people, like Lucas didn't direct the original trilogy himself, you know, like the fact that he brought in people already when it all started was intentional. And like you said earlier, like with the books, show it even more than anything. Like, no two Star Wars books that come out back to back are really the same. And then you can get your romance, your heist, your space galactic adventure, and your buddy cop. Like, whatever you want. It's all in the universe we love.
Agreed.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about our drawings yet.
Oh yeah, let's do
There's
that.
homework.
Let's do that. I think we
54 minutes in. Here we go.
I'll show mine.
I was
off
hoping
first.
somebody forgot about that, to be honest.
Well, hey, I'm going to set the bar so low because I drew it like minutes before we went live.
I mean,
but
I did too.
I already saw yours and it looks better than mine. I did the thing
What are
that's
we
on
looking at here.
Yeah, it's an abstract piece. This is,
That looks like my tattoo.
yeah, it kind of does.
Oh, it does.
God,
it does.
It was what was on Nimic's little device as he was guiding them out.
I love it.
Sure.
The eye, because I loved my boy Nimic. He's hurt, but he's still going to save everyone's lives. And I was like, I don't know how to draw that. And I was like, I can do that. So that's what I drew.
I know it was hard to
Perfect.
pick something
Hey.
to draw in this one.
It's the navigation.
They
did.
Yeah.
They got it.
Yeah.
They got it.
Very good. Very good.
All right.
Who's
There was
next?
no time. There was no time for the 69%.
All right, I'll go next. Mine's actually like it's almost the same scene. I don't want to intimidate you all by my skill. I did use 3 different markers
Oh
that I
my
found in my
God.
desk.
Oh,
And
me
this is-
too.
This is that same scene. So
It's a highlighter. Oh my God.
Nimic's on the ground because his legs don't work.
But he's sitting
A
up and just
highlighter
sad.
does not count as a marker, Eric.
Yes!
Come on.
Eye. See, there's all the eye things, and then
Oh man.
Skeen is very angry. I gave him angry eyebrows, and then Tell gets blonde hair because she's blonde, and that scene going climb. There you go. So
I love Nimic's little sad face.
he's like, I can't feel my legs. Like that's
Oh
Nimic's
no.
Oh, oh my
So
God.
that was it.
All right,
I'll-
who wants to go next? Corey or Molly?
I don't know how to follow that up, but I'll go next. I also used 3 markers, 3 dry erase markers, and I just drew. This is lazy, but I drew
Oh,
the
I
eye.
like it. All right, Molly wins. It's not even a question. That's very good.
It was just so stunning.
It was.
was.
Again,
stunning.
the VFX of the eye is just really some of the most impressive I think we've seen.
Yeah.
I loved all of that.
It's
so
like that
much.
meme, like they didn't have to go that hard, right? It's like Phil Collins in the Tarzan soundtrack and
Yes.
the VFX artist on the eye.
Yeah.
Did not have
Yeah.
to go as hard as they did.
All right, mine is much less interesting, but we haven't talked about this. I drew the
Oh,
the
yeah,
TIE
yeah, yeah.
fighters.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah, the TIE fighter singing. This is very, very bad. I didn't really remember what was in it. I didn't use an image like as a guide. I just
That's
drew
from
it
memory.
right from-
That's very
from
good.
memory.
That was
Yeah, uh-huh.
that was such a great shot too, because you could see the eye behind it, and then we've talked
Mhm.
about it a couple times on the show about how well the TIE fighters are being used in this show. Like they're actually
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
They're the sound design just like hits different. So yeah, I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that scene and being able to see people get into the cockpit and like what that
Yeah.
actually looks like.
Yeah, with the beauty of
Yeah.
the eye in the background and the
Mhm.
destruction of the TIE fighter in the foreground. It's like, we're going to go
I know.
kill people.
And it's
but
all
look how
red.
pretty
They got it
is.
right too, right? The pilot is
Yeah.
all cast in all the red light and everything. And
Yep.
also, I don't think we've seen this before. The glass on the cockpit had a really deep, like kind of green tint to it, like from the area
From
they
the
were in
eye,
or
yeah.
whatever. That was
Yeah.
really, really cool. I loved. I don't know if you guys saw that or if you've talked about it before. The Lost Stars reference with like Thane Tyrell or whatever talking about like swooping down to intimidate the locals and stuff. It's right out of the books. I saw a meme or something
Oh.
with that.
Ooh.
Yeah. There's
Nice.
a line from Lost Stars that talks about him having to do that, like as an Imperial pilot and
Yeah.
stuff.
Just to
Oh,
freak
yeah.
people out.
JG, there you
There
go.
you
JG's
go.
he's on our team. Perfect timing with that. Yeah. That was that was really cool. I love the TIE fighters this episode, and it felt like they were really close and gonna get them. I love the intensity there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt
Yeah.
like they were good at their job. They just didn't know how to navigate the
It's
eye.
just their tech,
Their fault.
because like that's what I love. Like the Empire takes over a planet, and they're in their mind they're like, nope, that's an Imperial planet now, and they
Yeah.
don't bother. They did this in the Mandalorian too, where they like set up a base, and it's just a standard issue Imperial base
Yeah.
on
Mhm.
this planet, and it doesn't work because it's a lava planet, but whatever. And it's the same basic idea of the TIE fighters aren't working right because we didn't bother to research how to fly in
Yep.
the eye. We just gave you a TIE fighter, and good luck with that.
Yeah, because who could possibly take us down? The TIE fighter, as with all Imperial machinery, is the pinnacle of its class, and like, it's such a. Again, it's such a glorious commentary on the rise of fascism in this show, and all Star Wars is like, you don't listen to the cultures you take over, and that is why you fail. And that is always the secret to destroying them. It's the Ewoks and Jedi, man. It is like you didn't learn about the furry babies.
It's nature, right?
You. Yeah, absolutely.
I will also say that the VFX of all the flight in this particular episode was virtually perfect. Like, that's been a really small complaint that I've had about some of the VFX and all of the live action shows. Sometimes the taking off looks a little odd or something.
We're
like
on the same page.
Yes. I tell you, the snow speeder.
Yeah.
The snow speeder in Kenobi was so bad. I couldn't. Every time I see it, I'm like, this sucks. I can't watch this. It's so dumb. Which is so dumb in hindsight. I mean, we're watching multiple $1 million of VFX. You're like, oh, this CGI sucks. Like, no, they got it right this episode.
I am the same way. I catch myself being like, didn't take off quite right.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Meanwhile, we talk about how much we love Battlestar, and they use the exact same shots time and time again, and then just the same shots, no matter what's going on.
They made
but if it's bad every single time, you can accept it. But if it's only bad once every 10 times, then it's just unbearable. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No, they look. I mean, they did look as good as the Kessel Run in Solo when they. One of my favorite moments in all of Star Wars when they just smack the TIE fighter into the asteroid. That's exactly how it felt, them flying through the eye. Like, wow, also, they're doing it. I was just reminded of this. The whole rail ship concept is really, really cool. Like that, I love that they keep inventing more and more new stuff for ships. The fact that it like took off like a roller coaster ride and took that sharp turn right at the very end was really cool. Like, that was really creative, I feel like, to launch with that. And they made that such a key part of the show because we saw it earlier, because they're like, how do you get it off the rail? And we get to see Cassian do that. Was kind of a cool follow-up. Yeah. They planted like all the seeds. This episode was the mighty tree, and they have planted all the seeds in the first few episodes. Like every conversation meant something. Like it's almost cliche to say at this point, but now I can't wait to go back and hear all the talks. And now knowing what the mission looks like, what mattered, what didn't, what went wrong, what went right, what contingencies did they plan for? Like, show rocks. It's so good. It's like
cinema.
I'm almost upset at how good this show is.
I know. Somebody said in our Slack team today, like something along those lines. They're upset for how good Andor is, because how are we ever supposed to go back to anything else now? The bar is too high. It's too high.
It's just a different flavor of ice cream. It's fun.
Yeah, that's right.
All the
I
ice
love
cream.
The ice cream.
Remember the ice cream, guys.
Good.
Forget nothing else. Remember the ice cream.
No, I want ice cream. I don't think I have any ice cream.
You eat too much gourmet ice cream, and you're never gonna go back to the good stuff. Or
Lieutenant
the stuff
Gourmet ice gourmet.
Yes,
it's not there. It's not there.
You tried, and I appreciate the try.
So close.
All right. Well, it has been just about an hour, so we will let the two of you go. But before you do, just let everyone know where they can find you, what cool stuff you've got going on over at Youtini, and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Let's talk about Youtini for just a second. If you've never heard of Youtini, I'm Corey, by the way, Corey Helton, Dr. Corey Helton, if you will. Founder.
It took you so long.
I know you have to say it. It's ridiculous. You have to. Youtini has been around for a little while now. We're about 5 or 6 years old at this point. We're a kind of a books and comics community, but a little different than kind of everybody else out there. Our job is really more of teachers. We try to teach you guys how to read the books and stuff. So, now is such a rich time to be a Star Wars fan. We're so spoiled with all this live action TV and games, and now the books are really, really taking off. It feels like the canon novels in particular have really found their stride in the last 2 years or so. And it's super, super good. If you've ever been on the fence about jumping into canon, if you have been a Legends guy, or you love the X-Wing series, or the Thrawn trilogy, the Heir to the Empire trilogy from back in the day, the stuff that a lot of us, including myself and Eric, grew up with, right? Like canon has kind of reached that new era. So, if you don't know where to start, there are a ton of canon books now. You can find us on youtini.com. And we're not just canon people either. We love everything. We have Legends, we do comic stuff. and that sort of thing. You can find us on Youtini.com. Eric, on the other hand, is one of my co-hosts, president of Youtini, if you will. And Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about Living Force, our kind of headliner podcast that we do at Youtini?
Yeah, our flagship podcast is The Living Forest. We're live every Monday night on our Youtini YouTube channel at 8 p.m. Eastern. We talk a lot about the books and comics, but we really talk about anything and all things that are going on in Star Wars. We do a live show similar to this. It's also on all the podcast catchers and everything. You can look that up. We just have a lot of fun. We do book roundtables. We break down every book. I always watch Alex's reviews and steal all the quotes and tidbits.
Easter egg videos. Appreciate those, Alex. Keep doing those, right? It's a needed resource, all right?
But yeah, every new book we chat about. We keep you abreast of all the news that's going on. And then while these shows are going on, we do recap shows and all that as well. But mainly, if you want to look us up on our YouTube channel or check us out on any podcast catcher, The Living Force, and we have a Legends show called Legends Look Back that takes all our Legends fans through all the 90s and everything like that. So anything Star Wars books and shows and games and God, there's so much, but we just have a great time. I'm loving it all.
Too much.
It's too much.
Almost.
Alex Smalley, do you guys ever do that thing where you're like, man, what are we going to talk about this week? And then they release like a bazillion things, and it's so easy to. It happens to us all the time. It's so ridiculous.
No, it's
because
for
we
us.
go on vacation.
Yeah, anytime we leave, anytime we go on vacation or leave for anything like not work related, they're like, oh, here's 30 announcements.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, there's
news.
5 new
That
films,
does
and they're all
happen a
coming
weird
out at
amount of
Christmas
time.
of this year. Here you go. Yes.
But
that's
I'm
how it
really
goes
excited
for us.
for phase 2 of High Republic. I've started Path of Deceit. I haven't finished it yet, but it's good.
Oh yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
The High Republic has been such a. I'm not sure we've ever had. Oh, yep. There you go. Path to Sea. Great place to jump in the High Republic. Yes. For anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, the High Republic new book initiative, books and comics. We are starting phase 2 of the High Republic, which goes back. It goes backwards. Yeah. Almost panic there. I'm getting my phases mixed up. Going backwards about 150 years, I believe. Right. So, it's been fun to go through the High Republic, which is 300 years before the film. So,
yeah.
If you are looking to get into books, High Republic is honestly a really great place to get a completely new introduction, because you really don't need any backstory to read it.
Yeah. And the last plug I'll give is at Youtini.com. We just talked about this on our show this week. We have a High Republic HQ where you can go. We have a whole guide to say, hey, here's all the books in order. If you want to read this book, you need to read this. If you want to read this book, we recommend you read this, but then you can read this, because I know jumping in is hard for lots of folks.
Confusing.
Yeah. Corey still doesn't know the difference between a phase and a wave. If you want to listen to our show this week, you got it wrong every time.
Did every that time. On Monday, and I got it wrong every single time, even with
I
notes in front of me. That's my only complaint about the High Republic. Phases and waves are virtually identical, and nobody can tell me otherwise. All right.
Think of phases of the moon being a lot longer than waves in the ocean.
But the waves
does that make sense?
The moon causes the
ice cream, moon,
ice cream.
Molly coming in with the images.
Yeah. Analogies. I love it.
Awesome. But thank you guys for having us. This was
absolutely
awesome. We just want to talk about the best shows with our friends. This is the best.
Yeah, this is super fun. Thank you both for coming and hanging out with us. Molly and I are going to stay and answer your questions in chat. We're going to let Corey and Eric go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Go watch the episode again and have a great night.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Have a
Thanks
good night,
again.
everybody.
See you guys out.
Bye.
Awesome. Well,
we forgot to talk about like how I feel like we should talk about how we do this show at the beginning of every show. The fact that we're going to take most of the super chats at the end.
I pinned a comment if that helps.
Oh, okay. That does help.
But yeah, that's a good idea. I always
if
forget to just bring it up.
If you've been waiting patiently for your super chat to be read, we usually go through them at the end, unless they're very relevant or relevant to our guests who we want to get ahead of time before they leave.
But let's dive in. First, we have our mod, Rain Man.
I don't want to. Don't read the second part of this one.
No, I'm going to read it, and I'm going to yell at him for it. That's allowed. The first part is very nice. Happy anniversary, Alex and Molly. Here's $10 for 10 years happily married. Thank you so much, Rain Man. Now we yell at you. P.S. I'm glad Nimic died. You're a monster.
Wow.
You're a monster. How dare you? Nimic is a treasure. Everyone loves him. You're wrong. Thank you, though.
That's impressive, because I literally haven't seen anyone talk badly about Nimic. So
Rain Man just wants to be a contrarian.
yeah.
Rain Man wants to rain on the parade. That's what that's what I'm
That's
taking
it.
away from this. Well, and the next super chat from Cal Vector it's a good double feature. Thank you, Cal, for the happy anniversary, y'all. Go home, Rain Man. You're drunk. Yeah. I hope the rest of these are just yelling at Rain Man for his bad takes.
Mm.
And Cal sent in another one. Thank you, Cal. I need a Nimic spinoff prequel thing.
Yes. I don't know. I mean, maybe not a spinoff, but like, I like the idea that his manifesto is going to live on.
Yeah.
Like, literally, maybe Cassian will keep reading parts of it throughout this show or something.
We threw out the idea last week that they could release it as like one of those in-universe reference books, like Rey's Diary or Han Solo's, like the Tales from Vandor kind of thing.
That is a good idea.
I would read his manifesto. I also saw someone today. I wish I could remember who did it, and I wish I saved it. Someone has been making West End game guides, like the old RPG source books, and they took whatever Nimic wrote about Cassian. He was like, mercenaries and their purpose in the galactic fight for freedom. Someone made a West End Games role-playing source book with that title and put an image on it, and I was like, that's just fun. I really liked that.
Cute.
Do you want to swap off reading these? Because
oh yeah, we can. Let me see.
I've been just dominating them all the past few weeks.
Katie has the next super chat. Thank you, Katie. What an episode! I firmly maintain Cassian already has an ideology. He knows that he knows what he's against. I think the manifesto will help refine what he's for, and he may contribute to it. Ooh, that would be cool if he like turned it into a diary where he like would write little journal entries in it to kind of finish it off.
I really like that idea, that it starts as Nimic's and then it becomes Cassian's as well, and he leaves his own legacy beyond, just helping save the galaxy and destroy the Death Star. I think that's a great idea, that he would help kind of maybe define the ideology. Oh, that's a nice idea too. That this manifesto becomes some sort of founding document for the Rebel Alliance. Maybe it makes its way to Mon Mothma's hands or something.
Yeah, I saw someone in chat.
Anything to give Nimic more and more justice, I'm all about it.
I saw someone in chat earlier say that like maybe Mon Mothma might read it or part of it, and some of it made it into one of her speeches at some point. That would be cool.
Oh, if that's like in her speech about the Gorman massacre eventually, that'd be really cool. I like this too. Just a rebel suggestion box.
Suggestion. It's just full to the brim. The angry letters.
That's a great idea.
They need an Amazon review page. 1 star, 2 stars.
I think I agree that Cassian does have an ideology. I think it's buried. Eric brought it up that he tells Jin, we don't all have the now I can't remember the line. He said it perfectly. We don't all have the privilege of choosing when we get to fight for something. And he does say, I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. And it does seem like he has not been recently, but I do think he has those feelings and that ideology, and he's just kind of ignoring it for now. But I think we're going to see it bubble back up.
Yeah. Agreed.
Serenity Productions, thank you for the next super chat. Hey guys, love the channel, best Star Wars YouTube channel out there. Thank you.
Oh.
I was wondering if the next arc may be just the fallout from this. What do you think?
Yeah,
it's very possible.
I have no idea where they're going to go after this, because like they could go anywhere. They could go to something completely different. They could take us straight to Saw Gerrera and like just show us what he's up to, because that's a character that fans are already going to know. But I think like I said earlier, I want to see Vel meet back up with Luthen. I kind of want to see what Luthen's game plan is going forward. Obviously, I want more Mon Mothma, but I don't know if we're going to go straight into what happens next.
Well, I do think the Empire is going to retaliate because Partagaz straight up said that. He's like, bring me everything you can about retaliation. So I think that we're going to see the hammer be brought down
Oh,
on
what if
Aldhani.
what if all the Aldani natives get taken to that prison
Oh.
and then we help break them out?
So I'm closing my door because I can hear myself in your microphone.
Oh.
That's interesting. That could help drive Cassian back into action. That he doesn't want to just sit there and let them all suffer because of something he did.
And that could reunite Vel and Cinta. Because if Cinta's still there on the planet, she could somehow go with them either in disguise as an Imperial, or I've kind of thought all along that she might have been a native or like related to someone that lived there. I don't know. But like her being with them would give Vel a reason to then go and be like, we gotta break these people out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, no matter what,
Just a
Cinta
thought.
is still there. So if they were to round everyone up and imprison them, they even said something along the lines of like, when we start building this airbase and we need legs and arms to do all the hard work. So like they were already planning on making the people of Aldhani ruin their own sacred valley and build a new airfield. So maybe that whole prison system is there on Aldhani. I don't know. Now
Could
that's
be
based off of a trailer I haven't watched in months.
at the other base, maybe. But it looked like it was in a city, so I think it's on.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Maybe that's like a correctional facility, and they're gonna like send them there and then put them back to work on the airbase.
I would be excited to see Cassian on Coruscant because I don't know if he's gonna meet Mon Mothma this season if they need to or not, but I would like them to. I want to see their stories converge.
Yeah. I don't know. So many options.
There are a lot. I like that idea though, that the prison could be full of Donnie people and Cassian being like, nah, I gotta help making that decision.
That would be a good way to keep them involved instead of just being like, all right, well, the Aldani arc is over now. We can just
Right.
ignore all their problems that they still have to deal with.
I already miss Bryan Cranston, the chief leader. I that was not Bryan Cranston, but he looked just like him.
He did. He also looked like someone else that I can't think of their name. Is it the guy in Succession? The old guy?
Oh, Brian Cox. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, that's who I thought of too.
I can see
that. Gio Flores has the next one. Hey guys, first happy anniversary. Thank you. Also, is it next season only that we are going to get a time jump, or is the next arc a time jump at all? Loving it. Yeah, same thing. We don't really know when and where we're going to get the time jumps. We know there's going to be a few.
Well, that season 2 is going to be full of them. We know that. Also, I just wanted to real quick say hey to Star Wars Spelt Out and thank you as well. I think season 2 is going to be 3 episodes time jump, 3 episodes time jump. I was surprised that there wasn't a time jump between episodes 3 and 4, that it just kind of went straight to the next bit. I think there's definitely room for a time jump in between episodes 6 and 7. Just the way that Cassian has gone off to do whatever. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen next. And I like that.
Yeah, I like not really knowing what's coming next.
I'm going to guess that it won't be a significant time jump, though. No matter what, it's going to stay within this year of 5 BBY. We know that. So I'm going to assume that at most we could get like a month or two time jump, but it won't be a lot.
Mm-hmm.
One Res Electronic Music. Thank you for the next super chat. Very generous one, too. Thank you. My stomach is still in knots. Fantastic episode. Also, I am so glad that I found your channel. Some of the best Star Wars content out there. Thank you.
Oh,
That was just
thanks.
nice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll say that I feel like Andor has stretched my YouTuber muscles quite a bit. Eckert's Ladder has a good video he did, I think, last week about how Andor is like the anti-YouTuber show. And he means that in a good way. Like, it's a positive video that
Kind of like She-Hulk, what She-Hulk is doing right now.
no, he more I see what you're saying, but no, he means more that you don't walk out of this episode the way you do from like watching The Mandalorian. I instantly have 4 things I can't explain, and this I'm like, I watch the episode and I'm like, I'll do a review video, and then I'm like, what should I talk about? And you have to really dig into the themes and characters and the motivations instead of just being like, that's Black Chrysanthemum and he's from this comic and blah blah blah. Like, those videos are fun to make too, but I feel like I'm really having to challenge myself with Andor, and I like that.
I mean, everything I think of is like related to real things. Like, how would a real heist go? What like how does this compare to real heists in history or real rebellions in history? Like, what is this like?
That's a fun idea. I remember someone, I'd have to look it up. Someone pointed out that this heist had similarities to like a Polish heist during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a fun thing to explore.
Yeah, I mean, we're not self-proclaimed history buffs, but
not at
we can do some research.
I know way more about Star Wars history than real history, and that's a little sad.
Next up, we've got a super chat from Eleanor. Thank you, Ellie. Haven't been able to watch the episode, so I'm not viewing the live stream, but this is my coin into a wishing well and the hope for Nemik's survival. Oh no.
Well, I hope Ellie comes back and watches this later. And we mourned Nemik sufficiently, I think. Yeah. I'm still not over it.
Oh, poor baby boy. He had the best hats out of anyone. We can say that.
His hat game was on point, nonstop. Justin Carter, thank you for the next super chat. My dark little heart was hoping the kid would get loose and they would shoot him by accident. Oh my God, adding another layer of Great of the Rebellion.
Like one of the other members of their team would shoot him by accident? Or
maybe. I mean,
kid
like,
would get loose.
The one that they held hostage.
Oh, okay.
Leonard, I think his name was.
What a terrible name.
Which I looked him up. He was in House of Dragon, but he wasn't. I thought he was Aemond Targaryen, but he was that little boy that like got in a sword fight with some adult and won. Do you remember that? It was like in episode 2 or 3.
And he won?
Yeah. So someone like said something crappy about his family, and he pulled his sword out even though he's 8. And then like this 20-year-old was like, okay, and then the little kid beat him.
That's when you F around and find out, you know, the chart. That's what happens.
But yeah, the whole idea of the rebels, like, we're taking a child hostage and they were holding a blaster to his head. Like, that
I don't think they were expecting a child to be there, but they were like, well, we've gone this far.
I mean, even if they weren't, they were constant. Like, Skeen had his blaster to the kid's head. Cinta was nudging the kid with her blaster. And it was like, this is not Mon Mothma's rebellion, I guess, as I would put it, is like that's not how heroes conduct themselves. And so I like the exploration of how the rebellion grew, and I think they're going to continue doing that with like how far is too far. And I don't know if they're going to keep it ambiguous whether or not Cinta left them all alive or not. I don't know. But yeah, like I saw would be proud, and that's not something you should aspire to.
True. Going back to Nimic real quick with the next super chat from Alex Ward. Nimic is an anarchist icon. A well-written, honest manifesto can change lives. Ask Karl Marx or Alexander Berkman. Okay, enough politics. Sorry, love you guys. All true. I mean, like I said before, there's so many ways you can connect this to real history, which is always fun to do. And, you know, people can say what they want about real history rebellions, but we know where this rebellion is headed in Star Wars, and like it's all pretty clear who the good and bad guys are.
Yeah, I mean, I just had a complete brain fart. Complete brain fart.
Complete brain fart. Do you want to?
I blue screened. Hold on. I'm trying to pull my head back out of my own ass, and I can't.
Nimic and anarchist manifesto. Karl Marx, Alexander Berkman.
Oh, it's almost there.
Politics.
Let's move on, and it'll come back to me. Shit! Like I had a complete thought, and it leapt out of my head.
Well, our good friend Ken Plume sent a super chat. Thank you, Ken. Can we talk about the symbolism of how the cash to pay for the rebellion is what killed the purely idealistic Nimic? Yeah, I brought that up a while ago, that like the greed of like getting as much of the credits into the ship as they possibly could may have led to his death, because like they had them all kind of neatly stacked up except for that one last crate that was still out, and that's what smashed him.
Yeah, that I felt like this mission was below Nimic. I mean, it's important. The rebellion needs funding. Fighting fascism needs money. But it just felt like such a waste to lose Nimic here and now. So yeah, that sucked. It sucked to lose him.
Indeed.
My thought came back.
Okay.
For Alex Ward saying, well, first of all, don't apologize for saying enough politics or anything like that, because this show is very political. And I was just going to point out, like, I'm surprised at how very anti-corporate the show has been, like constantly.
Yes.
I like it, but all of the stuff with the corporate sector, the Premor Corporation, all that, but getting into the idea of tech nowadays and how you become reliant on like one. Nimic says the Empire's tech, but in real life, we have Apple tech and Android tech and Google, like all of these different corporations, and they all want you stuck using their stuff. And if it breaks, they need to be the ones to fix it. And all of that stuff. That's why I was like really into this thing, and the fact that saved them and the Empire's technology couldn't. But
yeah,
like he's right that stuff offers a degree of freedom. Older tech is harder to use, but it has benefits.
It also made me think of so what's the guy that had the heart attack? The Imperial character's name?
Oh, I don't know. I called him Commandant Butthead earlier, but it's like J Hard or something.
He's not a butthead. That's what our viewers are called.
That's true. Yeah. It was just stuck in my head.
Anyways, that guy, his whole monologue about what they were doing to the Aldani people, like giving them this false hope and like giving them the idea that they're getting what they want. and flooding them with too many options so that they don't realize that what we've given them is nothing that they've asked for. I was like, oh my God, that is big corporation thought, like to a T. And it's also, it's like, it reminded me of like going to a fast food restaurant and you're just like overwhelmed with options and you're like, none of this is good for me, but now I don't know what I want.
And the idea, like there was so much talk about comfort in this episode. And like we've set up comfort centers where we pump them full of cheap drinks and we weed them out that way. We offer a little bit of comfort to take away a lot of freedom. And how comfort can be someone's downfall. How Skeen ultimately just wants to be comfortable. He just wants $40 million so he doesn't have to, he can afford to not care anymore. And he can live comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I took out of this episode, was all of the ways that people want to be comfortable, how they weaponize comfortability and ease, and how the drive to be comfortable all the time, like Perrin. Why can't everything, or why does everything always have to be sad and boring? Like how that can be someone's downfall. I thought it was really interesting. And then seeing in the real world how corporations will offer, this will make your life a little easier, and we're going to take a little bit from you every time things get easier and easier.
Mm-hmm.
There, that's what I wanted to say. That was the brain fart I had.
Okay, you ready to move on?
Uh-huh.
We got like an hour's worth of super chats to go over. Do you want to read the next one?
Oh, yeah. Joel Davis has the next two. Thank you, Joel. To go back to cringe and pulp, it's fascinating to think that while Andor is happening, the Rebels storyline is happening at the same time. I mean, yeah, and that's kind of what we were talking about, how, you know, Star Wars, every little storyline has different flavors, a different recipe. Yeah. Everything is slightly different. It's all still Star Wars. It all still fits. But yeah, like Rebels is telling a very similar story of how the rebellion began, but aimed at a younger audience.
Mm-hmm. I really like my ice cream metaphor, and I feel like I need to visualize that in like a video or something, or an image.
I think that's great. We can get a bunch of different ice creams, and you can white out their names and put Andor and the Mandalorian on them.
Mm-hmm.
Mint chocolate chip for the Mandalorian, because green. And Joel's second super chat. Thank you, Joel. I think things like Andor are harder to make.
I mean, I think logistically, yes, for sure. Like they're filming everything on location. That's going to make production a little bit harder. I don't know if there was like more explanation behind the statement than that, but it does take a little bit more thought. Like I think more thought went into the writing of this show than some of the other Star Wars shows.
I think so too. I think they went into this with something very specific they wanted to say. I think that Andor had a long production. Like you said, it was on location and stuff. But I also think that they, if I'm remembering correctly, I believe they had that option when some other productions did not. I don't think Obi-Wan had that luxury. They were filming, I think, more during the height of COVID. And so they kept everything to the volume. Mm-hmm. So had things been different, they probably would have had a very different production that would have been more difficult as well.
Yeah. But I'm going to run to the restroom.
Okay.
I'll BRB.
All right.
Have fun. Have fun without me.
Not too much fun, though. Crash Punk, thank you for the next super chat. I'll just solo myself there. Thanks for the next super chat. That episode was intense. Loved every second of it. What other characters would you love to see in this mature live action style of Andor? You know, I'd wanna just go. No, oh, I should try to find this in the chat. I'd want to go really weird. Like let's get Hondo Onaka, someone that you wouldn't think of as fitting into this universe, and see if we can make it work. Like Hondo and Cassian interacting. I think that would be incredibly fun. I don't think they're going to go that route, but who knows? Why not? Let's give it a shot. For a more serious answer, I think I'd like to see Dr. Afra in something like this. It would be a little more pulpy. It should be, because Dr. Afra is off the rails insane sometimes, but you also have characters like 000 and BT1 that I think would need a an older skewed audience. And also I just love Dr. Afra, so I'll throw that option out. Strigon Kid has the next one. Thank you, Strigon. Great up today. Maybe the stolen creds will get the Rebels some shiny new X-Wings. Always wanted to see how the Rebels got them. Maybe in a future arc. I think right now we're going to be more focused on just Cassian's story. Down the line, I do think it's possible that we will see. There we go. I do think it's possible we will see more of how the Rebel Alliance itself was formed. I get the sense that season 1 is more about Cassian and how he came to join the rebellion. And still, they've been pitching this show as like how someone becomes a revolutionary. So I think that is what they're going for. Excuse me. The whole show will probably be very Cassian based, but getting X-Wings would be a really fun, I would be down for that storyline. I'd love to see them steal some X-Wings, buy some X-Wings, whatever they did. And yeah, maybe we will see Luthen do a lot with 80 million credits and really fund the war effort. I think that's possible. 10N. Thank you.
I'm
Hi,
back.
Molly. Hi.
Surprise.
10N, thank you for the next super chat. Shady Skeen schemed slyly. That's just some fun alliteration.
Is that a haiku?
Shady Skeen. No.
I knew it was.
Well, I didn't, so I had to count the syllables.
Sorry, I'm scrolling to catch up.
Gotcha. Ash Deasy has the next one. Thank you, Ash. By Rogue One, the Mon Cala are already with the Alliance. Could Mon Mothma's special contact be their entry into the Alliance, Akbar or Radis?
Oh yeah, the person that she was like, I think I found someone to help. Oh,
Yeah,
if it was
there's
Redis, that'd be so cool.
I'd love for it to be Radis, because the Mon Calamari aren't fully into the rebellion until the Star Wars comics after A New Hope, when the rebels kind of have to help liberate them, and then they join. Like Akbar, Radis, there are a couple people, a couple ships in the fleet, but then they liberate Mon Cala as much as they can, and they get a lot of ships. Mm-hmm. So I do think that it's possible we could see Akbar or Radis, because they were both part of the Rebel Alliance early on. And yeah, seeing Radis, I think probably more likely in season 2 would be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Scrolling some more. I don't see their second one. Oh, it's from a different timestamp. Hold on. Stand by.
Ash Deasy has the next one as well. Okay. Could Kenari have been destroyed / rendered inhospitable by a super laser test? It would make Cassian's involvement in finding the plans in Rogue One deeper. It's possible.
I don't think. I mean, Cassian didn't really do or say anything like he was that worried about the tech itself and like how it came to be, if that makes sense.
I don't know. It's possible because we know that they were trying to figure out the super laser for a long time, but I don't know. I agree. I don't get the sense that he had like this personal connection to like finding and stopping the planet killer, other than it's bad for the galaxy and we need to stop it.
Oh yeah, I mean he has reason to be mad at the Empire for many things, and like just the more the Empire goes to these colonies and destroys them for mining or otherwise, like it's happened to him his whole entire life, and he's traveled not the entire galaxy, but he's traveled a lot and seen the same things happen to multiple planets probably at this point, and will continue to do so. So he's just sick of it.
Yeah, I think it works perfectly fine if Canary was just destroyed in a mining accident, whatever that actually means. That he has seen the Empire, do the same thing over and over.
Mm-hmm. Batman Is My Dad has the next 2 super chats. Do you think this payout will be the financial bedrock of the Rebel Alliance? I hope so. I mean, I hope they got so much money out of this, and they lost so many that, like, I hope this goes straight to the cause. Because, like, yeah, like you mentioned, Mon Mothma having a harder time moving funds around. This would make sense.
This is dumb, but I'm gonna look and see if I can find out how many X-Wings 80 million credits would buy. I think it's a lot. Because what Cassian offered...
Is it enough? Is it just enough for Red Squadron?
Let's see.
Or not Red Squadron, Blue Squadron, I guess.
A new X-Wing is 150,000 credits. So that would get them 500 X-Wings. Used, they're 65,000, so that's even more.
Those were all definitely used.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think that's going to actually matter, but I just thought it was funny. I mean, I think that's a significant chunk, and like I said, I'm curious to know what Luthen does with the money. If he goes to Mon Mothma and he's like, "Hey, good news! I have a lot of money, and you don't have to worry anymore," or if he like abandons her and is like, "I'm going to Saw Gerrera, and I'll give him all my money." Like, I don't know. I think that this is going to be a good start, but for some reason, I don't. It feels like Han Solo getting a lot of money, and that it's going to be squandered somehow. It'll be lost. I just don't feel like the Rebels get this big of a win so fast.
What if the money eventually goes towards Yavin 4?
I don't think they like what to
Like
buy the temple.
No, just like building a base there and giving people the resources. Like, you have to pay people wages to do this full time.
I don't know that it's 80 million credits worth. I don't know. Like, I hope that it helps the Rebels out, but like Luthen is still such a mystery that I just don't trust him.
They have to buy Y-Wings too, even though they're trash.
It's true. Y-Wings are cheap. They stole those in Rebels. They didn't even pay for them.
They need to buy droids. They need to have travel expense accounts. I don't know. There's a lot of money going into rebellions that, we're not an accountant, so we wouldn't know.
I like the idea that they Airbnb'd the secret rebel base.
Mm-hmm.
The
next one.
This next one.
The next super chat from Batman Is My Dad. Alex, I like how you said you thought the religious altar on Aldhani was the portal to the world between worlds in your review. Hi, Malarius.
I did not say that. I would never say that. But I did bring up the World Between Worlds like 2 episodes ago on my own for some stupid reason.
On his own accord, folks.
So I brought this on myself.
If you don't get the inside joke, when did that start? Was that how many shows ago was that?
I don't know. It's probably years ago at this point because like I love the World Between Worlds as a concept, but I think I went on some rant about how it's not time travel. It can't be used to change history, blah, blah, blah. And then people started to...
It finds its way into... Yeah, it finds its way into these live shows that we do to recap episodes, which is great. We love it. We also love our friend Andy Blanchard.
Love you, Andy. Andy actually texted me about Dr. Quadpaw as well. But just wanted to welcome Dr. Quadpaw into the Four-Armed Boy Quad Squad. Great name. I love that. Also, happy 10th anniversary. Thank you, Andy.
Oh, thanks.
The Quad Squad is an excellent name. And
the
Andy,
Quad Squad.
I think you need to collect every member. Like that should be... I collect every piece of Biggs merch. You need every piece of merch for General Grievous, Dexter Jetster, Dr. Quadpaw. Who else? Who else has 4 arms? Gascano.
What's the guy on the... Wait, who am I thinking of? Isn't there someone on the Jedi Council that has 4 arms?
Probably.
Like one of the really...
might, actually.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. Like one of the really old ones.
I think Jarl Poof does. Oh, Rio Durant. There's lots of possibilities. But yeah, basically get all the Quad Squad. I think that's a great idea. Pong Krell. That's a good one, General Grievous. Maddie Gunner, thank you for the next super chat. They would have moved more money if Cassian brought B2 with him, just saying. Happy anniversary. Love you guys. Thank you, Maddie. And yeah, they showed in the 3rd episode that like B2 just pulls heavy stuff around.
Yeah, B2 is a power bottom for sure. And he can lift a lot of weight.
He sure can.
Is that not what that means? I don't know.
I think you know the answer to that. On that note, I'm going to go to the rest now. So that's what you get.
Okay.
Think about what you did.
Thank you. I'm here all night, guys. Except I'm not. I'm here until we finish reading these super chats. He's a what? John Barnett has the next super chat here. I don't see a message, but if you have one, send it over to our mods and I'll read it out loud. But thank you so much for your generous super chat. Let's see here. Richard Rendon, thanks for this super chat. What kind of relationship does Vel and Cinta have? A lovely one. A well-deserved one. I don't know much about both of their backstories, but I'm excited to see more. And I hope that they can reunite at some point soon. But yeah, they had a very nice moment in this episode. I was hoping for a little smooch, but you know, there's no time, I guess. Whatever. They had time to smooch. Oh, and Richard had another one. Let me scroll down here. 7:33. Do you both think that the episode showed the ignorance of the Aldani people displayed superstition? I'll wait till Alex gets back for us to discuss that one. Let me scroll back up. This one's from Al. Thank you, Al. Nimic saying surprise from above is never as shocking as one from below. And then his last words to Cassian being climb, BRB, gonna go cry. Ugh. Yeah. It's so rough. And like there were so many things that were said in this episode from the very beginning. Like Nemec's conversation with Cassian seemed to be so telling to like what his end was going to be. Like the whole stuff about like you can sleep when this is all over, and like now he's like forever sleeping.
We saw all those signs as
we did.
Early on, he said a bunch of stuff like that.
So many,
like, Cassian,
so many
stop.
times where Cassian was like, "You'll be fine." He's like, "I'll be fine." Blah blah blah. Ugh. You're not supposed to say that. So you can't say "I'll be back" in a horror movie. You can't say
or in a heist.
I'll be fine in a show like this.
Yeah, I'm right behind you. Like, what are you doing, man?
I skipped over one because it was directed at both of us. Let me go back to it.
From who?
This one.
Okay.
Do you both think that the episode showed the ignorance of the Aldani people displayed superstition?
No, I didn't get that vibe at all.
No.
If anything, it showed the ignorance of the Imperials.
Yeah, like when they were kind of talking to each other and the head of the Aldani said something and then they translated it to be something else. Like he knew that that was the wrong thing. I think he knows he was like, a bit of basic.
What did you say?
And like they
He's
did
like,
that.
I know
little,
that's not what I said.
They did that little exchange, which I loved that he threw that into the fire, because the way that the Imperials were talking about it beforehand, they were like, yeah, we do this little pelt exchange and it's really stupid and it stinks, but you know, whatever, it's just for looks and it keeps them in line. And it's like, no, they obviously know that you guys are bad news no matter what. Like they don't care about your pelts that you're giving them.
No, it was all I didn't get the sense that they were ignorant at all. I much more got the sense that the Empire didn't know what they were doing on this planet. They could have researched it. They could have done more than just be like, the eye sure looks neat, let's go watch it. And instead, they didn't adapt at all, and it was their downfall. So I much more saw the ignorance of the Imperials than the Eldani. I mean, I don't think they displayed superstition either. They were performing a ritual that's important to them, part of their culture.
Mm-hmm.
The Eye of Aldani means something to them. It doesn't mean anything to the Imperials outside of looking neat.
Yeah. And the fact that, like Gorn said, like the Aldani people believe that this never stops. It's just,
yeah,
we get to see it, we get to witness it every so often. And that's kind of a gift of our faith. And that shows that the Imperials are just like, they just show up, they do what they're told. They're like, oh, is it starting yet? Oh, great. Is it over yet? Like, they're just waiting for their next instructions.
Terriman had a line too of like, remember, we're dressed as Imperials, and the Aldani people hate Imperials, and the people who are here especially have made a life of it. So yeah, I don't think they were ignorant to anything the Empire was doing.
Nope.
The end. Andrew Biederman has the next 2 super chats. Thank you, Andrew. The trailer shot of the Star Destroyer flying over seems to be on Aldani. Maybe that's part of the retaliation against the planet and its people. I think that's likely. It's a shot of Cinta looking up, and I think Cinta's the only one in that shot, and she sees a Star Destroyer.
I need to go back through and watch these trailers now, because I don't remember any of this stuff specifically, but
I'm specifically not going back and watching them now.
No,
because
well,
I want to be surprised.
Aren't you a good person?
You can do whatever you want. You can watch all the trailers whenever you want to watch them.
I will.
I'll believe it when I see it.
But that would go kind of in line with what I was saying. Like, they might go and just arrest all of them and take them to some prison camp, which would be awful.
They definitely have plans to use them as forced labor or forced labor. Like, they're putting them in those, I forget what they called them, centers, not the comfort centers of this episode. In episode 4, they talked about how they set up housing and gave them jobs and stuff, but that could just be like, we're going to make you destroy your own sacred valley and build an airfield there.
Andrew's next super chat says, and that's maybe why the focus on the tribes people, so we feel more when they get torched in the retaliation. Also, happy anniversary. Thank you. I don't think they're getting torched.
Linux Poodle called them prisoners with jobs. Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
This is still a Disney Plus show, so I don't see entire villages being torched. I mean, they did kind of do that at the beginning of Force Awakens, but they didn't show specifically like people on fire.
Right. Yeah, I don't think they'd go that far, but I do think there's going to be some retaliation against the Aldani, yes. And I think they're going to do the same thing with Ferrix. I mean, we already saw it start. And again, just remembering from trailers, there are like riots and stuff on Ferrix that we haven't seen yet. So I think there's still a lot more to cover. Garth McMurray has the next 2 super chats. Thank you, Garth. Why do you think they shied away from showing Vel and Cinta being romantic and maybe kissing? I think I said in our reaction, I was like, now kiss. But could we see them reunited and see more of their relationship?
Please.
They continue to do like Disney is surprising me, and the bar is set so low. But just the little subtle bits in episode 5 where I was like, oh, they are in a relationship, clearly. And then in this episode, they were like holding hands. And I'm like, yeah, they are very clearly in a relationship. So I don't know. I'm not holding my breath for Disney to do that, but.
Right. They gave them such a perfect moment in this episode to kiss. And it was almost like some Disney exec came along and said, there's no time. You can't do that. It goes, just go. Like, ugh. It's frustrating. But yeah, I hope that they can reunite. It's
possible that they are building it up to have them reunite and have a very heartfelt reunion. Again, not really expecting it from Disney, but I wasn't expecting anything at all. And who knows?
We've been burned in the past too many times with that stuff. So yeah.
But I do really like even that little moment that they gave. I liked that.
This is something that we kind of talked about earlier. Another super chat from Garth. Could Nimic's manifesto get copied and passed out among the rebels, inspiring more to join the rebellion? How important could it turn out to be? Yeah, I think that's plausible.
Yeah. I think that would be a great idea even. And part of that is just like Nimic is becoming my new ride or die. So I want him to have like a significant impact on the Rebel Alliance as a whole. I think that would be great. Even if that doesn't happen, he impacted Cassian Andor, which leads to Scarif, which leads to the Battle of Yavin. So he has already saved the galaxy in my eyes, but if he does even more, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Agreed.
Ben Verbic, thank you for the next super chat. Wanted to circle back to climb. Those that climb out of greed versus trust and selflessness and overall success, missing Nimic already. Yeah.
This has been a whole episode where we just pour one out for Nimic. Constantly.
But I did like all the talk of climbing out of the eye. Skeen talking about, the only way to get out of the hole is to climb over others. And he says something like, "Oh, don't take the high road with me," when Cassian starts to talk back to
high
Skeen,
mind.
High mind, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like
same thing.
There are multiple ways to climb, I guess, and one way is to do it together, like Nimic did. Like he used his skills to save everyone, and Skeen wants to just save himself, I guess.
Yeah. Speaking of, kind of leads us into this next one. Emma, thank you for the super chat. Just finished the episode and I'm so frustrated with this ending. Nimic didn't even die valiantly. That could be argued. And I do not understand what happened with Skeen. So yeah, there were... Alex, you seem to say that you were expecting his turn. And it came out of nowhere for me.
I was not expecting his turn, but when he did turn, I was expecting Cassian to shoot him.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That's what I like. The second he was like, "Hey, we could just take all this money and go," I was like, well, he's dead.
Mm.
I agree that Nimic did not, die heroically. And I like the way that this show is not...
I think he did.
He did, and he did.
Not in the classic sense, obviously.
I'm bummed at how it happened. Like the cause for his death was just like, oh man, you were in the ship, you were gonna get out, and then he got crushed, and that sucks.
His hero journey was doing the work, doing the research, doing the models. He was the one to get them out of there. He had that little machine. He was like giving them instructions on where to go. They wouldn't have made it out of there without him. And Cassian would not have been inspired to go on like he does and become the person who he is in Rogue One without him.
Yes, agreed. That the act itself, the just being crushed, it doesn't feel heroic or valiant or whatever. But then they pulled him out of there. He did his job. He got everyone to safety. And then, I mean, we didn't see his final moments, but one of the last things he did was insist that Vel give his manifesto to Cassian, which, like we've been saying, saves the galaxy. Mm-hmm. So he does die valiantly, even if it wasn't a more like, I don't know, big feeling death.
He's going to be the ultimate, like, unspoken hero of this show, I think. Mm-hmm. Not the ultimate, but like one of the ultimates. Also, real quick, I can't believe we forgot Cormanda has 4 arms.
Yeah. Our favorite.
Can't leave her out. But yeah.
Andy Fing has the next super chat. Thank you, Andy. What I thought was weird about the heist was they were mostly using E11s, which have a stun function, right? So why didn't they just stun the hostages? Because they were leverage against what's his face, Commandant J Hard, J Bard, something like that.
J Hard.
I don't know. I don't know. His name. It was something
Commandant.
like that.
We can just call him that.
The Commandant. Grease is another 4-armed character. Now we're getting sidetracked. I
wonder if this is also another Tony Gilroy choice. He's like, stun? What even is that? No, the stakes are way higher. Get that out of here.
Jay Hold, thank you, everyone. I think that they were trying to show them being really aggressive, and like it was supposed to be scary, intense.
Be aggressive. Be aggressive.
It is like we see in Star Wars Rebels and in the Bad Batch, like they use the stun setting all the time because it's a show written for a younger audience, and they have said that Andor is written for an older audience, so I think they're going to treat everything more violently potentially. I think they have been so far.
Although we keep talking about whether or not Senta killed all those, like the mother and the kid. Maybe she just stunned him.
Maybe, and
got out of there.
maybe like that's what I wonder if they're just going to keep that ambiguous forever, and let fans debate. That is the feeling I got of her walking out of that. It looked like she was crying, and I was like, "Oh shit, did she?"
That would be like a whole family gone because of this one thing.
That's like, I don't want to think she did it, but I don't know. I think they might leave it as open to interpretation.
Yeah. I feel like the wife and the kid didn't deserve it. The wife seemed like she was like, well, you got fat. Well, I'd like to see you cooperate with blah, blah, blah. Our kid has a fever. Like, we should look into that. Like, she said, do what they want, cooperate.
I'm really just on the kid is the only one I was super concerned for. I don't want him to lose like his entire family, but
Sure.
To me, like, a child is innocent. The wife of an Imperial commandant, like, she knows what the deal is.
Yeah.
She knows what they're doing.
Kind of goes into this super chat as well from Justin Carter. We really watched Star Wars Heroes put the steel on a child. Also, do you believe the dark side is inherently evil or just when it's mixed with Sith? Well, that could be its own episode.
Yeah. So yeah, totally agreed with what you said. We've been talking about it. The dark side, I think, is a pathway to evil. Like, okay, fear, anger, aggression, like all of those are normal feelings to have. They don't mean you're evil. So no, I don't think that dark side emotions are inherently evil, but if you start to use those emotions and let them control you, then you're getting into dicey territory.
It's like, is it Test of Courage? What was the first young reader book?
Yeah, Test of Courage.
Yeah, Test of Courage, I think, does this really, really well, where one of the characters, one of the Jedi in training, I think he's a knight
Emery,
or
yeah.
young
He's a
youngling
Padawan
or
at that point.
Padawan, one of those. He taps into these emotions like anger and aggression and kind of gives into them a little bit.
Mhm.
And then they show him come back and realize like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And like the other Jedi are like, it's okay. We learn from these mistakes. We can come back from them. You're not completely lost if you end up, giving into the dark side at times. Like you can come back from it. And so that's part of that's a whole nother show too, but it's part of the reason why I love the High Republic, because they're showing these very valuable lessons of, yeah, you can have these emotions, just know when to reel it back.
It's more about letting those emotions control you and control your actions, and let that happen for a long, long time. I mean, that's the story of Anakin Skywalker being afraid of losing what he loves and doing anything to stop that from happening. And that leads him down the dark side, and then he just stays there. But you don't have to stay in the dark side. One bad day doesn't mean you're evil.
Mm-hmm.
Fear, anger, like all of those are normal emotions.
We all have bad days. We all go on Twitter rants sometimes, happens.
Howdy, it's David has the next one. Thank you, Howdy. I think Cassian, back to Ferrix and Marva and his friends rising up, as she says in the trailer, as much as the manifesto push him into being a rebel.
I really want to go back to Ferrix.
Me too. I miss it already. We just got a little taste of it for 1 week.
And then we got another little taste just seeing the Empire like settling in there, with them turning that one building into like that guy's headquarters.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was last episode.
Yeah, that was like such a quick scene, but you kind of, it was there for a very specific reason to just show you that like the Empire's there, they're settling in, things are getting worse on Ferrix. And so when we see Cassian go back there, it might look completely different.
Yeah. I think that's possible. But yeah, I think this whole season is going to be about Cassian becoming a rebel. I think season 2 is going to be more like Cassian is a rebel, and here are those adventures he went on.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, Shadow Sith says, that's not what Yoda said. He said, once you start down the dark path forever will it dominate your destiny. So was Yoda wrong? I got news for you. Yoda was wrong a lot of the time.
He was old and senile. I say it all the time.
He was wrong about things. He was wrong when he told Luke to kill Vader. He was wrong in the Clone Wars, and he admits as much. I think that what he means in that moment, though, is that the more you let fear and anger control you, the easier it becomes. You just continue to give into it more and more, and you have to consciously pull yourself back from it. That's how I interpret it.
Yeah,
is that
it's like cheating on tests. Once you cheat on a test one time, you're like, oh, I should do this more often. And then you eventually get caught.
That happened to you?
No.
You never got caught?
I'm not going to tell.
I'll never tell.
I dropped out of school. Don't listen to me.
Sith Rodriguez, thank you for the next super chat. The line from Vel, one path, one choice, reminded me of the path in the Obi-Wan show. There's a lot of paths going on in Star Wars recently.
She had a lot of great one-liners, like, to various people in this episode. One path, one choice.
I feel like this episode did a lot to pull me onto her side a little bit more. Just she's another mysterious character kind of tied up with Luthen, but watching her debate and like steel herself to jump over the fence and actually start the mission, I was like, I really liked that scene.
She was like, she's been kind of so hard this whole time. Like her shell is so hard. And then you see it soften a little bit when she's trying to get people at the camp in the previous episodes to just get along. And then, yeah, in this one, it was cool to see her hesitate a few times. Like she was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Like she went from being this hard character to someone who you actually can relate to, because you're like, oh, I get that hesitation in a moment like this.
I mean, it's weirdly what we've been talking about, like fear and whether or not you give into it or not. And Cassian talked about it the last episode. He was like, I understand being scared, but don't use me as an excuse to not do this. And that's kind of like, she has that little moment of like, yep, I'm afraid. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah. Admit you're afraid and talk about it and like use that to learn and figure out what to do about it.
Fear is the mind killer. Now we're going into Dune, which is still related to Star Wars.
Let the spice flow. Or something. Let the pumpkin spice flow.
Oh no. Surely that joke has been made before.
Yay. I need a direct line of pumpkin spice in one of my nostrils at all time.
You're wearing one of those, I forget what they're called, wetsuits, but it's just full of pumpkin spice coffee.
PSL. Mm-hmm.
That's gross.
Yuck.
Our buddy Ken Plume has the next super chat. Thanks, Ken. For the World Between Worlds Fund. I should start keeping track.
What are we going to do with that fund?
I don't know.
Maybe we'll do a whole episode talking about the World Between Worlds. Whenever it comes back, we should do that.
I did that. Yeah, that's a good idea. But we did that in Star Wars Rebels Season 4. Because I was so excited about it. I thought it was awesome. I still do. I still think it's awesome.
Ice has the next super chat here. Thank you, Ice. Really great episode. Heist was awesome. I have a lot of thoughts. Also, a very happy 10-year anniversary to you guys. You're both awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ice.
We obviously have a lot of thoughts too, because we've gone over 2 hours now. But all good topics. This episode was insane. Emotions ran high.
And Ice has the next super chat as well. Thanks, Ice. Well, Alex, you wanted us to feel uncomfortable rooting for the heroes in this series, and you got what you wanted. Taking the kid hostage was dark. I did say that. I think I specifically said Saw Gerrera, and now I'm really worried that I'm going to get what I want, because if this is what like this Rebel Cell is doing, if we get to Saw Gerrera and it's like now we have to up the ante, he could be doing some terrible stuff. But you are absolutely right. I did say that. So good job, Andor. Careful what I wish for is what I should say.
Ice has another super chat here. I think the implication is that Cinta executed the hostages after. They set up that she was out for blood. The Empire killed her family and she responded in kind. I hope they address it definitely. Yeah, I brought up earlier that they did say that stormtroopers killed her, like slaughtered her family. So we saw from that very first standoff, she was the one to come in and shoot that one, the engineer guy that had his gun pointed at Nimic. She was the one to come in and do that. So she is not afraid to open fire on these people. So it's very possible that she killed them.
I'm kind of hopeful that they leave it ambiguous, because I don't really want it to be true.
It would be hard to root for her after knowing that she killed a child. Yeah.
Yep. And
so,
you know,
I don't think
I'm fully on board. You know, Star Wars redemption arcs, they happen all the time. Anakin killed more than one kid and he got to be redeemed, but still it's just like, I don't want her to have gone that far, especially since like we just met her. Garth McMurray has the next two super chats. Thank you, Garth. Now that the big heist has happened and Dedra Meero's theories have been validated, do you think she'll try to leverage to get to investigate who did it?
Is she gonna do an I told you so?
I hope so. She's earned it, I think.
Yeah. She's been working those late nights.
Which again, like now I'm thinking about how this show has made me like want the heroes to like ease off, pull back a little bit. And I find myself rooting for Dedra because she's the underdog. And I'm like, she's the villain.
Nah. I mean, between Dedra and Cyril Karn, I do root for her a little bit more than him because he just seems like a snotty brat and she is actually right about her instincts. We'll see where that takes her character, but I'm just loving the darkness that we're seeing this early rebellion in, because it makes sense that it had to start somewhere and it's going to start dark. And then later we can bring in like, oh, it's all about hope, blah, blah, blah. Some kid from Tatooine will come and help us and save the day, whatever.
I think that it's still true that it is all about hope, but we're exploring that idea of, just like Rogue One did, how far is too far? How do you fight a fight like this without losing your soul? Is that even possible? That's what I think they're gonna do with this series.
Yeah.
Garth McMurray's second super chat. Thank you. Side note, I like that the latest episode of Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, was also titled The Eye, like this episode.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Huh. Also, quick plug. If you haven't seen already, we are doing our Explain It to Me series on our other channel called Malix. Those are happening on Sundays, and we're at the last episode, right?
Yeah, there's only one episode left.
So tune in on Sunday to see us cover the last episode if you want.
Yeah. We have our friend Ashton, he knows more about Tolkien than I'll ever know. He's like I am to Star Wars, he is to Tolkien. I can ask him anything, and he knows all about it. So we have him on. We talk about Rings of Power. It's super fun.
Rings of the Power.
Rings of the Power. The Power Rings. That's what my parents call it, I think.
The Power Ring.
The Power Rings.
Those kids and their key.
Marissa Lopez, thank you for the next super chat. What do you think will bring Andor back in? I think Ferrix.
I think that the more he reads Nemik's journal, I think it will inspire him to realize that what's going on in Ferrix is similar to what's going on Aldhani and all these other places, and that he needs to work together now that he's networked a little bit with some of the other early rebel leaders. Like, they all need to work together to help each other, and that it's not just Andor and his whatever affects him. Now he's realizing it's a bigger picture thing.
I'm trying to just like place, I don't know, markers on my supposed Andor timeline, and I feel like the next step for him should be like, I want to make the decision to do something rebellious that isn't just for me, but is for the whole community. And I think that Ferrix is a good candidate for that. Or I really like, Molly, your suggestion of, oh, we did that heist and we got all the Aldhani people in trouble and they didn't do anything. And so he wants to help them. I could see that.
I have another idea, because I've been waiting to see how, is it Marva? Is that her name?
Andor.
I've been
his mom.
Yeah, I've been waiting to see Marva and Andor have a little bit of a falling out, because she still has a very like extremist way of thinking. But I don't know, like maybe when he gets back and meets back up with her, she's got this like plan that involves him. And now that he's like spoken with Nemik and the rest of them and like gotten a bigger picture idea of what's going on, he might not agree with everything that she wants to do. So they might butt heads. I don't know. There's something there.
It's hard to, I don't know, map all of these characters. They introduced so many good characters in the first 3 episodes, and we just haven't seen them for 3 episodes. And then they introduced a bunch of cool characters in these 3, and now most of them are dead. So I'm ready to revisit the Ferrix crew. I miss all of them.
Yeah.
Even that little taste of Ferrix in episode 5, like just give us a little bit, and I'll be cool.
Mm-hmm.
The Dano channel has the next super chat. Thank you, Dano. It's got the 2 beer mugs, and it says, for Nemik. I was so worried the heist crew would shoot each other since everyone was in gray officer uniforms. What do you think happens with Cyril? Yeah, I'm glad they didn't accidentally shoot each other or turn on each other. I didn't think about that, but I'm glad Skeen didn't get any stupid ideas until after everything.
Yeah. I do keep forgetting about Cyril. Eventually, I know that he's going to meet up with Dedra, and like they'll probably team up to want to take him down, because now they both have a common enemy.
That is something that I do wish this show gave us a little bit of story from every character in every episode, just because I miss them all. I think they're telling the story in the best way that they see fit, but I'm just like, where's B2 Emo? Where's Bix? Where's Marva?
Mm-hmm.
I like all the characters, and I want to see them each every week, but it's all right.
It's all right.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's
I'm okay.
But
I'm
they'll
okay.
come back. They have to. They have to.
They will.
Hugo E says the next super chat here. Tinfoil. When we see Cinta again, she's a partisan. Ooh. Ooh.
I mean, I think she would fit, especially with the debate that we've been having about her.
Yeah. If Saw somehow got wind of what was going to happen on Aldani because of the rebel attack, if he ended up there, I could see her like joining up with him.
That would be cool. If the Empire's like going to bring the hammer down and Saw comes in to help.
He's like, I got a bigger hammer.
That and then the time grappler
The
comes
time
out.
grappler.
I really like that idea though. That would be a really fun and interesting way to introduce Saw instead of just what I've been assuming is that Luthen goes and visits him because he's a known entity. Multiple people have mentioned him already, or the partisans.
Yeah. The wheels are turning.
But I like that idea of bringing Saw in as like a relief for the Aldani people.
Maybe this whole time he's kind of known about a rebel cell on Aldani, and he's like, they don't have the guts.
Yeah.
And then he hears about it, and he's like, oh, maybe they do. Let's go check it out.
Yeah, like I think that was something that was supposed to happen kind of in Rogue One, because there are behind the scenes photos and footage of like Moroff and other partisans on the beach. So I kind of think the original story was for Saw to be like the Mon Mothma and that Rebel Alliance. They don't have the guts. They don't have enough to do what it takes to beat the Empire. And then he hears about what's happening on Scarif, and then he comes in, like they get to do the Han Solo moment of like, we need reinforcements, but there are none. And then Saw comes in. So maybe they're trying to find a way to work something like that in. I don't know. I'd like it.
Yeah.
Darth Watts has the last super chat here. Thank you so much, Darth Watts. I'm working on becoming a content creator on YouTube too about Star Wars. I'm not as smart as you on Star Wars. I'm not that smart. That doesn't matter. And my videos aren't as good as yours. Can't afford good software, but I'm trying. I'll tell you right now, like people don't care about the quality of your videos so much. Like my favorite TikToks are the weirdest, most low quality thing. But as long as you're passionate and really that's it.
I mean, when you first started making videos, they weren't the best quality.
Yeah, go watch my first video about Wilrow Hood. Like, it pains me to watch it, but people liked it.
The way that content creators work now is like completely different than I think it was in like 2016, 2015 because of the rise of TikTok. Like anyone can go viral now with just the video camera on their phone and no software. So don't let that stuff hold you back.
Yeah, I don't think any of that, like even knowledge of Star Wars, it's not that big of a deal. Like pick the thing that you love about Star Wars and talk about that. As long as you are passionate and you love what you love, like people will find you. So just keep doing what you're doing. Don't stress out. But Molly's edits are super.
It's because I have a very simple mind, you see. I spend all day on TikTok, so I know what the kids like. They like a Negroni spagliati with Prosecco in it.
Still don't know what that means. And
Ice has another super chat to round us out here for the night. Nimic was my fave when we first met them. Once he started going on about his manifesto, I was just like, okay, moving on. Not a fan of it becoming a bigger thing in the show, maybe just because it's called a manifesto. I get that. Like the word manifesto can have a negative tinge to it, but like I said earlier, like we know where this rebellion is headed, right? And we're on their side.
I'm wondering. It's okay. I wanted to look up the definition of manifesto because I honestly don't know. A public declaration of policy and aims, especially one issued before an election by a political party or candidate. I don't know. Like, I wonder if some people get turned off from the word manifesto because of like the Red Scare and stuff. I feel like
Sure.
it was a bigger thing back then, but
That's what I mean. Like it can have a negative connotation, even though it shouldn't, because of the simple definition of what it is. But it depends on the situation.
sure, it depends on
Mhm.
who's writing the manifesto too.
Yeah. A lot of factors going into that.
But thank you, Ice, for that very generous super chat, and for another one here. So when it came to it, Gorn's death was what got the biggest reaction out of me. He grew on me a lot. Same. I really liked him. Seeing Nimmick go down was rough, though. The one about Gorn, it happened so fast, and I was like, he's just gone. Like I was kind of convinced he would get back up and run onto the ship or something, but that he just got taken out quickly.
Yeah.
And like who said that Nimmick didn't have Emma, that Nimmick didn't die valiantly. I feel like that was true for a lot of them. Is like this wasn't treated as this big, noble, heroic thing. It was just a job for some of them. And it was an important one because I think the 80 million credits are going to go a long way. But it was just kind of a bummer to see everyone go out.
Yeah.
But that's what I thought.
Okay. These are going to be the last ones because it's our anniversary and I'm hungry and I'm getting cranky. So Ice with another one. Last one for me. Pentagraz at the end was like, put on the coffee. It's going to be a long night. Have a good one, guys. Yeah. Put on the calf. Take your little stim pills.
I already had too much coffee today. I was like really jittery in the middle of the day.
And Lord Hosk, how late can we keep you? Do you have plans? Not much later, and I have plans to go eat dinner. So
we're gonna go eat dinner and watch Midnight Club, probably.
Yeah. We don't get to actually celebrate our anniversary today. We're gonna wait and do that this weekend.
We're gonna go to dinner on Friday, a nice dinner, and then when Andor is over, we're gonna go on vacation. Those are our anniversary plans. But today was spent with all of you. So thank you. Thank you for watching.
This was great. Thanks to the guys from Youtini. They were a lot of fun. And
it's 10 years today, Charlie the Unicorn. We made it a decade. So it's a big one. So we're going to go chill and rest for the rest of the night. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for your chats and your super chats and for supporting the show. I think I don't know what we're going to build tomorrow, but I think we'll do a Lego live stream, and we're definitely doing an Explain It to Me on Sunday about the last episode of Rings of Power. And now I will wrap it all up, say thank you again, and may the Force be with you.